Hi, I'm Nat.
And I'm Guy. And Candace Owens, is she reaching the breaking point in this chess match between her and TPUSA? Things are getting interesting. I think the ball's kind of in Candace's court again. She's trying to put it back to TPUSA. We'll get into all the breaking news that kind of happened in that situation. And after that, we'll get to the news of the day. If you're not liked and subscribed, please do so. We only need one more subscriber to get to 600 subscribers.
Yes.
So if you're not yet subscribed, do so.
Please do so. And clearly, we are humans because I was choking. Okay. Do you want to? Well, do you want to introduce?
No, we'll go right into it, and then we'll start talking about the stuff.
Okay, from the SCIF. So yesterday there was a whole hubbub because Turning Point USA came out to say, yes, we will have a live stream where we're going to explain and go point through point every single claim that Candace Owens has done, and if she wants to join us in the studio in Phoenix, then she can do so.
We disagree on that because they did not say in the studio.
They did say it.
No, they did not.
I can pull up the video.
Okay, pull up the video.
Okay, but hold on.
Okay, so I'll explain it while she's pulling up the video. They want her in studio. She says she wants to be on a live stream. I think the most important thing here is actually just to have these questions answered, not just Candace's questions, but the questions the general public has. It's really TPUSA has the most to lose because they are the campaign arm of the Conservative Party right now. They need to put a lot of this stuff to bed. The best way to do it is on a live stream by answering questions. It does seem like they're fooling around by trying to make rules of you have 24 hours to respond. This has to be in person.
She doesn't deserve many more hours to respond.
Okay,
I'm looking it up. Hold on. I'm trying to find, because I don't want to have to scroll through all of their live stream, but fine, I'll do that then.
Okay, and I will say this, we'll go into the back and forth they've kind of been having, their responses, Candace's responses to them, and then we'll get into kind of what happened today. It seems like Candace does eventually want to go out to this TPUSA event. They said that she's already given her decision and that they kind of don't want to have her, it almost seems like.
No, they do want to have her.
Okay, well,
but they want to have her in the studio.
Let's get into everything.
Hold on. Okay, I found it. The thing is, I don't know at what point he says it, but I'll prove that he does. I'll put it at a bit faster speed.
Okay.
Because she even played this herself, and that's when I noticed, because we were both watching her show, unfortunately.
Okay, let's watch it.
Hold on. Let me put it at, what, 1.5 or 1.25?
1.25 is fine.
Okay.
And this will take a minute. This is kind of a bet between us whether they said she had to be in studio or not. I think they said
in person.
It would be
in person.
No, it will be okay.
And she can come in person.
No,
we wanted to use this segment at the top of this hour to say something important, something very important. For the past 2.5 months, there's a topic that has flooded our Freedom inbox, has been nonstop on social media, but which we have almost totally avoided on this show.
Can you
probably already know what I'm talking about. Ever since Charlie's murder, Candace Owens has leveled a flood of allegations against people at Turning Point USA, people at Turning Point Action, and people who work for this show. She's made them against some of Charlie's closest friends and against some of his most dedicated employees. She has suggested that Michael McCoy, Charlie's chief of staff, knew Charlie would be murdered, was happy that he died, and stayed silent because he was told he would be the next Charlie. She has suggested Michael is not his real name. It is. I have seen his birth certificate myself. She has called it suspicious that Mikey's wife, who works at Turning Point, helped plan the campus tour event where Charlie was murdered, which she didn't, by the way. She doesn't work on campus events. Candace has suggested the Utah Valley University event was unusual, and its details suggested a, quote, inside job. She has claimed that foreign aircraft have followed Erica Kirk around the country, and that Turning Point has plot about Charlie wanting Erica to take over for him if he died.
I've watched this about 8 times now.
Stop what she was doing.
Keep going.
But a week from now, it's going to be 3 months since Charlie's murder.
Yeah, this is
Candace has not changed her behavior. She has continued to spread falsehoods about Charlie's friends, and she continues to concoct new ones about new people. She's using these falsehoods to enrich herself while dividing the conservative movement at an absolutely critical time for this country. And far too often, we here have heard from ordinary people, people who loved Charlie and who Charlie loved so much in return. These people have expressed the worry that we are staying silent out of power.
And I just want to make a point here that it is at the end like I did say it was, and I'm going to be right again here. Okay, let's go.
That was your point.
He was a fighter. Charlie would not allow someone to spread lies about the people closest to him with impunity, and he would feel ashamed if other people were stepping up to defend his friends while he never did so himself. Candace has mentioned several times that the ball is in our court. So here's what is going to happen. In the near future, there will be a live stream here in Phoenix where we address in a clear and comprehensive way the claims and accusations, the false accusations that have been made against Charlie's family, friends, and the people here at Turning Point. We plan to walk through everything carefully and thoroughly. If Candace is available, we would sincerely welcome her participation in that live stream at our studio here in Phoenix.
In that live stream.
At our studio here in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Literally,
in the live
he just
stream.
said.
No, in the live stream.
At our
Yeah,
studio.
they're going to be in the studio. She can be on the live stream.
Grammatics. We encourage her participation
in the live stream.
For the live stream at the
studio. Yeah,
exactly. So she has to be
it's going to
at
be a
the
live
studio.
stream. They have remote guests on
She
a
has to
daily
be at the
basis.
studio.
I'm on obviously
just
I'm on Candace's side here, and I
You're
do
just
think
on Candace's side to have a contrarian point.
no, and I do think there's a bigger. There's more politics going on behind this. I think it is Candace Owens, and the power player is actually Candace Owens' husband, who is really the money player behind that side. She's aligned with Tucker, and they want to take over the America First movement. I think they want J.D. Vance to be the candidate. I think on the other side, you have the Daily Wire, TPUSA, the Israel Lobby, who really want Marco Rubio to be the candidate in 2028. So I think this is the battle that's kind of going on right now to kind of take over the conservative space before the midterms.
Okay, we do have some comments.
Oh, we do.
So once again, we have our bot, Lauren, because I'm pretty sure that is a bot. Lauren, if you're not a bot, please put an H in the chat, because it's always the exact same comments.
Yeah, and we have been running
I have a theory. We have a theory.
We have been running a test. We've been doing a lot of Candace coverage, putting her on the cover, putting her name in the titling, and we're getting more than triple the normal views.
Yeah.
But there's distinctly a lack of comments and likes. So I think it may be botted. We don't know, but we're kind of testing out. Typically, I looked today back, we were getting between 50 and 125 views per live, unless we hit a certain topic, which would have been Tucker or Candace. Interesting.
Because again, Candace is always saying, and now she's even sent like a whole army to go find out if Tim Pool has bots, and she made this big thing about it. But then again, I continue to see the numbers for when we talk about her not be concurrent or similar to what
Why don't we get into the comments? And
Trent Briggs says, I agree TPUSA is playing games, but Candace should have gone and done what she said.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wait, let's respond
and
to
she
this.
said, and Trent, sorry, not she.
Hold on,
Trent says she is afraid to go in person.
Yeah, let me respond. I do think she should go in person, and I definitely think she is at this point. I think she realized it was a mistake to try to do it live. I would have preferred a live, because she could have brought up evidence right on the spot, and they're going to say we can't answer that question. Well, and we don't have the evidence.
But she has to face them face to face for all the accusations she has done.
And after watching today's episode, I definitely think she is going face to face. She knows she made a mistake. Backlash. There is a huge backlash right now. Yeah. But the fact she's trying to make a demand that Erica Kirk has to be there, I think Candace needs to be there no matter what now, especially if she's going to live stream the live stream. It's not going to look good if that's what you're doing on the day you say you can't be there. We did get some breaking information that
It's not breaking information. Apparently, December the 15th, which is when TPUSA had said that they would arrange that she was invited to come on, and said that's the date, you can't change it. It's her husband's birthday, George Farmer's birthday. So. But I haven't fully confirmed it yet. Wikipedia says it.
I confirmed it.
Wikipedia says
no,
it though.
I didn't go to Wikipedia actually. I'm the one that found that just before the episode. So it's her husband's birthday. She says she can't go. She didn't say it was her husband's birthday. I did some research and then I found it.
Well, I saw someone put it on X and then told you.
Well, no, and then I confirmed it from 3 different sources.
But what's interesting is that she's saying that people are flying in and that there's this big thing that her husband has to attend to. It's his birthday.
Yeah, and I think that is actually a big event. That being said, I think she would have preferred to go on a live stream. This thing's getting too big, and if a lot of people don't know about George Farmer, we kind of covered him yesterday, and I do have a lot of questions about her husband. Just to be clear here, I'm definitely on Candace's side, but if Candace wants to ask all these questions, I think it's fair to ask questions about her and especially her husband.
Yeah, because she opened the door for that.
They did start Parler. That did get shut down. I think that was an attempt to kind of take over the conservative movement at that point. He has been a huge money donor, and that's actually how they did meet at TPUSA. We did play the clip yesterday of how they had very little of of a romantic relationship before they got married. So there's a lot of questions there. That being said, it is her husband's birthday. It is understandable. This has become too big of a thing, and there is too much backlash on Candace now not to go to Arizona. So even if
she doesn't go to Arizona,
even if Erica's not there, she needs to make it clear that she wants to go.
Yeah. And then Trent says, yeah, he said at our studio in Phoenix, which is what I remember. Thank you, Trent. And Trent also says, I love Candace, but she backtracked. Exactly. And I mean, I've liked her. I haven't liked her. I've been on her side for the Daily Wire thing and with the Steven Crowder issue. That was years ago. And I loved her whole investigation into the jibby jabs, because we're on YouTube, I can't say the word. And I think she did a great job with that and with trying to release it also after she left the Daily Wire. And I take people at certain issues. I don't love or hate someone. And that's what I always tell people. Be discerning, and you don't have to agree or disagree with someone 100% to be able to appreciate points that they bring up, which is also why I don't particularly like most of what Nick Fuentes says, but I think he's on the money with the Candace thing. But I'm not going to throw my support on him. And that's what I always tell in Spanish, the people that watch me in Spanish. I know less than I know more of. And you always have, it's okay, even better, if you disagree with the people you usually really like and respect, not to just believe every single thing anybody says, be it online, be it in newspaper, be it actors, actresses, be it presidents, obviously, politicians. So having that discernment is important.
I forgot what I was going to say. You were talking for so long. I realized halfway through when you were talking, I was like, what was I going to say?
Trent Briggs says he's worth 200 million. That's why she married him. And there's also rumors that he has tendencies, I'll just say, and that his father is a lord. So Lord Daddy also didn't want his, son to be having those tendencies out in the public.
Let's just put it out there so people
I'm putting it funnily so people
might not understand. So there's a big rumor online saying that Candace may be his beard, and that's also why they have kids and got married so quickly, because
17 days.
A beard meaning you have a wife because you're actually gay behind the scenes. Him and his family are big donors and big in the money behind a lot of the conservative movements. Now, there are a lot of different ideologies within conservatism. So I think they have one, and I think they've been doing all they can to kind of take over the conservative movement. Another block would be obviously Israel, the Daily Wire, TPUSA is in there as well. It's funnily enough, Candace, her husband, as well as Tucker Carlson, seem to be one of the big power blocks. And they really want to get Nick Fuentes out of there because I think they want to kind of take over the American First faction. But the problem is Nick Fuentes has been there for so long. He was actually one of the founding members of what America First was. So if they want to kind of take over or hijack that movement, they need to get rid of him. That's why we seen Tucker bring him on the show, then talk shit about him after. Candace tried to do a hit piece on him as well. So it's very interesting.
All the stuff about her husband and all the speculation is conjecture, but once again, she also has to answer. We're just asking questions and we want answers from her. So she has to give us those as well. And she can't hide behind it. Because I think also we'll see the clip of her accepting again or saying that she does want to go on TPUSA because her show just ended and she replied once again to TPUSA. And I think one of the big things that has been circulating around is information and people complaining about her husband. Where is he? She says that she wants to be this housewife, homeschooling housewife. Well, where the hell is her husband? So today she had to bring it up. And we see this tendency with Candace where she'll notice backlash or people saying specific things online, and then she'll bring it up right after the next day, but trying not to connect the dots or prove that she's been watching or has been keeping a pulse on what is being said. So her investigation has also been a lot of following
hold on right there,
say online.
Because you're talking about Candace's investigation. And this is what I'm trying to say, and I don't think you're bringing it there. Her husband, I think, is financing this investigation. She's obviously a mother, a wife. She does have the show. She has a very busy life to think she's doing this investigation completely independently. I think she has a team of investigators. They're obviously using facial recognition.
It's all people online that's in her emails.
One moment. They're also using facial recognition, if you watch today's episode, to identify every single person there and then contact them. So there's a lot of money behind this investigation. I honestly think she has more information, and I said this from the beginning. This is what I was going to say. There's a good possibility, and I've been saying this right from the beginning, that Erica Kirk could be her source.
And that is an interesting point. And I think it's something not a lot of people are bringing up, that if, like, it could be that other than maybe Candace is in love and trying to avenge Charlie Kirk or trying to destroy everything he built up because she didn't get involved in it because he rejected her. That's one theory. She's in love with him, and it's something that Temple and the Quartering or Jeremy Hamley have brought up. But the other theory, and I don't see it anywhere, but we discussed it months ago, was that maybe Erica and Candace are working together and they're pretending to be infighting because Erica wants to be able to clear house and clean house at TPUSA, but she can't go at it directly. So she's trying to get Candace to go up crazy and seem insane, but then maybe have those receipts laid out once maybe they meet in person or just online.
Let's bring it a step further. Why would she want to clean house? Because
But I don't think there's financial impropriety to the level that it's being
One moment. There looks to be a lot of financial impropriety, especially when I looked into it. A lot of this would have landed on Charlie Kirk's head. Now that she's the CEO, a lot of that could actually land on her head. Not saying it was her or Charlie Kirk, but a lot of people within the TPUSA movement might have their claws into the financials. There is a lot of questions about Cavalry Church. It's a mega church. There looks to be a lot of question marks there as well. If a lot of those people from the Cavalry Church are actually implanted in TPUSA, Erica Kirk may want to weed out the bad elements, but she can't do it herself. So she needs Candace Owens to ask these questions.
And that is like a wild theory that is out there.
But I've firmly said that
could explain a lot of stuff. But at the same time, lunacy or insanity could also explain it. So
yeah, and
with that is like, if she needs to stay behind the scenes and not really say anything, Erica, then will we ever find out if they were working together or not? That's my thing. Like, how could this be proven down the road?
Well, Erica she might not feel like it's her place to ask very pointed and severe questions as well. So if Candace asks her questions on stage, then she can go back and start asking questions in clearing house.
But so then if we see firings or changes within the structure of the organization, that is Turning Point, that could be an indicator. But once again, all conjecture, speculation. And another avenue that I don't think has been, that explored. There's also the other avenue where, well, technically Candace is kind of uniting everybody on the right now against her, except the wine moms that watch her show. Sorry if you're a wine mom and watch the show. And a lot of Democrats that also watch the show, or disaffected liberals that kind of got on the train when the whole Blake Lively situation was happening. And that's how they found her as well. And with her fight with House and Habit.
And I disagree with that. We've been arguing a lot about, you say I'm the only one that supports Candace is actually a conservative. It's a bunch of Democratic housewives.
No, but what I was going to say, that's
complete conjecture.
No, I was going to say a point you brought up today, that in a way, and again, we've also speculated maybe she is an agent of some sort together with Tucker and Nick Fuentes, and that's why they're being brought to the forefront, even though they should be canceled.
Well, hold on. But Nick Fuentes is not part of them. It's obviously separate.
Okay, maybe he's a different kind of asset. And again, speculation. But another thing is, in a way, she is uniting the right. I mean, now Nick is speaking out against her. Tim, Megan, in a way. I mean, at least she asked Dan Bongino if the claims were true or not. So it does seem like there's a forming of a united front, and then there's kind of Candace floating over there.
It's not just Candace floating over there. You also have Tucker Carlson. You also have big conservative money behind Tucker and Candace. Candace went to an event the other day, which seemed a little strange because she's having all these attempts on her life. That event was actually a Tucker Carlson event. The fact that she was at this event,
holiday party.
The fact that she is at an event when she has all these supposed attempts on her life does seem a little bit strange. I will say this, people are united against Candace, but if she does have insider information and she's right even on a few of these questions, a lot of this is going to flip back in Tucker and Candace's favor.
Tucker has been kind of quiet on this, I think.
Well, Tucker's been a little bit strange lately because he's been flip-flopping on issues that he's definitely known about in the past, and he's taken firm stances on. One of those big issues is Tommy Robinson. He was recently on Piers Morgan's show. Piers Morgan asked him about Tommy Robinson. He tried to pretend like he had never heard of this guy. He's reported on Tommy Robinson on multiple occasions, all the way back from Fox News. This is directly in Tucker's wheelhouse, is Tommy Robinson. So it's a little bit strange because that's not the only thing Tucker's kind of been going back and forth on. I have a lot of questions on everybody from TPUSA to Candace Owens' husband to Tucker Carlson. You don't know who's who right now, and everybody's got their knives out. They're obviously within these power blocks, within the conservative movement, and they're trying to take it over right now. They know this is Trump's last term. He's not going to run for a new term. So whatever direction the conservative movement goes in, it's going to be determined by who takes control once Trump goes.
And my question is, have we ever known who's who?
No.
Exactly.
But it was a bit more obvious, and now it's just not. Yeah. So.
But let's see. So you put this one first. This was from yesterday when she said she wanted to do it live. From the SCIF, Candace Owens, and quote, Candace Owens asks TPUSA to send a live link to do the debate on any time, any day up to the 15th of December, which is the odd date they had offered. How much easier can she make it, especially with almost a 2-week window at any time, live on the internet for the world to see? So this is someone that's in favor of Candace being able to reject the first offer and then be able to...
And let's just say this, if by some miracle Candace is right, and I've stuck with Candace all the way through this, she will hijack that conservative movement. She will be the new face of people that are asking questions, or the populist conservative movement.
Mm-hmm. So do you want to watch it?
Yeah, let's.
So this is from her live stream yesterday after TPUSA had made that offer of going in person to talk and get her points
let's just
out.
play the clip, and we're going to go through everything that happened yesterday leading up to today.
I expected that Turning Point would reach out to me via text, via email. They would instantly follow up with their long diatribe and be sincere and say, okay, here are some dates and some times. When would you like to make this happen? We're going to set up this great debate. Rather, instead of hearing anything from Turning Point, I heard from Skylar, my executive producer, this morning via text, which I'm going to show you, that I was somehow already 9 hours into a 24-hour countdown that was issued by Turning Point USA. Here is that text exchange with Skylar this morning. He 8:49 said, "I'm sure you saw this." And I responded to him and I said, "No, actually, I didn't see this." And I opened the tweet, which went out from Blake Neff around midnight last night. And here's what he wrote. How am I supposed to see this? The live stream we announced on the show Wednesday has been set. That would imply to the audiences that they reached out to me and we set a time. No, he goes on. At 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. local time on Monday, December 15th, a collection of Charlie's friends will respond to statements made by Candace Owens to set the record straight once and for all prior to the opening of America Fest. Now, if it's going to be once and for all, it sounds pretty final. I mean, I would assume that I would have to contribute so that I could answer back, right? He goes on to write, we'll be live streaming, as he said from the beginning. This is going to be a live streamed event from Charlie's Phoenix studio. Our offer from yesterday holds. If Candace wishes to join us in person in Phoenix, she is welcome to do so. She can let us know by the end of today. Why? Well, I'm sorry. If you're saying this is happening on the 15th, why am I getting 24 hours to be able to respond to you? That doesn't make any sense. That, for some reason, feels like this is a BS offer.
Okay, we can kind of leave it there. And I will say this. You can think Candace is right here, which I do, and you think TPUSA is right here, but I don't think it really matters. What we need to start looking at is the midterms, is the future of the conservative movement. And TPUSA isn't just some YouTube channel or some content creation channel. What they are is they are the campaign arm of the Conservative Party. This is how Trump won. They're going to need TPUSA for the midterms. If TPUSA wants to put this stuff to bed, they need to answer these questions. They're perfectly capable of answering the questions on a live stream. That being said, if they don't start answering these questions, they've dropped from one of the top podcasts in the podcasting space to the 90th.
Because the host died. Of course it's going to go down.
No, they surged after his death, actually.
Of course they did.
Yeah, and
But now the host is dead and they haven't found a replacement, a proper replacement for Charlie, which you can't.
Hold on. You done? After he died, they surged and they had nothing but celebrity host after celebrity host after celebrity host.
They were doing an homage to Charlie.
And they were not able to maintain their ratings because so many questions are coming up about TPUSA.
Because of the questions. It's because Charlie Kirk was assassinated and nobody can take his place, or they haven't found someone good enough. Not enough. There's not a good enough, but good to take his place. And again, I'm not on TPUSA's side. I like the idea of what Charlie built with TPUSA, especially within my own context of what I'm kind of trying to do. I'm Mexican. We live in Mexico. I'm trying to move forward a new way of thinking of the conservative movement here in Mexico as well. And I've admired Charlie since he was going to college campuses and didn't have that much traction. I like the way he debates and stuff. And that's why it's such a big loss. So I'm on Charlie's side, I guess. He's no longer here, but I'm not on TPUSA's side. And I do agree that with a lot of the faith things they have been doing and the involvement of certain churches specifically within TPUSA and TPUSA faith, I agree that it's not a good idea for them to get so involved with those churches.
They're not just churches; they're directly connected to the military industrial complex with trillions of dollars.
That one's still up in the air.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. But what I was going to say is, I'm not saying I'm on TPUSA's side, but I will say that Blake Neff is making a lot of sense here. This is a screenshot from the older millennial.
Let me get two seconds in before you keep going, and now I forgot again.
Okay. You have to learn how to do this. So Blake Neff,
I'm trying to learn.
after Candace Owens came out once again to complain about the time and date thing, when she said, you can set whatever time and date you want, I'll be there, I'll do whatever I need to do. Blake Neff says, of course, this isn't how you book a guest. Today, again, we started complaining. How do you want me to respond with just 24 hours? And Blake Neff says, we are not booking a guest, and we never said we were. We are delivering a response to several months of escalating harassment and lies, and she was given the opportunity to join, and then she declined. So she is not owed more than 30 minutes to get on something if it's coming from them because of the constant harassment and lies that she has thrown at TPUSA.
What I'm going to say is I actually really did like TPUSA when Charlie was involved. Everybody could ask questions, and free speech was the guiding star, and he really brought a lot of different elements in to make a big tent movement. The problem is, since his passing, it seems like everybody has their claws in TPUSA, and they probably had it the whole time, but that now everybody's trying to get a piece of their pie, and you're having to pre-submit questions if you want to ask questions at these events. Today they had somebody ask a question live on the show, and they told her they had to go. They told her they had to go to commercial break at the end of that.
Because they did. They also host on radio.
Yeah.
And Charlie used to do that all the time, too. He would interrupt stories in the middle if guests were talking and saying, we have to go to a radio break.
Yeah, but they didn't answer her question. That was the point.
They did answer.
No, they answered part of her question, not the part that the audience wanted answered.
They did answer.
Okay, let's continue.
Hold on. Trent Briggs says, Megyn Kelly totally backtracked on Charlie Kirk talk. Yes, she's been, after she had Erica Kirk on, I think she hasn't touched that much on the subject since she kind of backed Candace, but then she also had Erica Kirk on, so who knows? Walker says, Walker.
Oh, good to see you, Walker.
Walker says, Candace did nothing wrong. I'm joking. Hello, guys. Hi, Walker. Trent Briggs says, TPUSA lawyers dictating how they did the invite, I would guess. Yeah. That's probably, and they said probably do it right before America Fest, that will get a bump for people to continue to watch America Fest and everything that's going to happen around those dates. So, I mean, of course, it was calculated. It's not like they just came up with a date out of nowhere. And it's probably because lawyers are involved or Erica Kirk.
It's going to be interesting because I would love to see Erica Kirk and Candace on stage together and she asking the questions directly to Erica Kirk. I think it would be a whole nother element. I don't want some lawyer or somebody that's been coached on how to answer questions up on the stage. It would seem more authentic if it was Candace Owens and Erica Kirk, and that's what Candace said.
But Erica doesn't know all the things.
That's what Candace said on her show today. Yeah, but if Candace is working with Erica and she asks the questions, that gives Erica Kirk the justification to go back and start asking the right questions to the organization.
Okay. Vosuario, hola Vosuario. Vosuario says, hey guys, just wanted to say hi. Hello. He says, great live stream. Take care. Don't forget to like and share to support the guys. Cheers and hope everyone's doing well.
Gracias.
Thank you. And yes, thank you for reminding us to say that as well. I always forget. Trent says TPUSA is cooked if they don't make amends with Candace.
Yeah.
And that too, like if they come out and decide not to fully, answer all her questions, she's just going to continue on the crusade forever. And because the way she handles information and the way she handles things is by saying, for example, with her whole claims that someone's out to get her from the French government. First, the White House didn't respond, and she was like, well, they haven't responded. This means that they don't really care. But then if they do respond, and for example, they say that it's not a credible threat, then she can go on to say, well, but if the government is colluding, of course they're going to say it's not true. So she always has an out to continue with the insanity she's been saying.
Yeah, I think this has...
Because of how she's framed everything.
I don't think this is just between Candace and TPUSA. I think this is major power players trying to dictate who's going to control the movement and who the next candidate is going to be in 2028. I think TPUSA, the Daily Wire, wants somebody like Marco Rubio to leapfrog JD Vance. In order for that to happen, they're going to have to take Trump out some way, somehow. They have to dirty his name and make him look like he's not succeeding. That way it tarnishes JD Vance and gives Marco Rubio an in. I think Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson want JD Vance. And then I think there's independent players or third players like Nick Fuentes that want concessions made by whoever the candidate is.
But then today, again, as I mentioned, there has been a lot of talk about her husband online, especially because there's a lot of people saying if she can dish it, then she can take it. But today on her show, this is from Colin Rugg, quote, Candace Owens says her husband wouldn't let her travel to Phoenix for the show with TPUSA, says he runs the household. Because again, there's been a lot of questions of how busy of a woman she is and claims to want to make everybody the husband a sandwich, but then doesn't talk about him ever.
It's his birthday, and let's just bring that up again.
Yes. So she said, quote, even if I could make it work, which I couldn't because my husband instantly said, no, you can't do this on Monday. He runs the household and he has an important thing going on that day, which involves people that are coming in from overseas. So that was her excuse as to why she had said no initially.
Well, and let's just be very, very clear. Her husband is very savvy, very monetarily involved in the entire conservative movement, one of the big power players. Even before he married Candace Owens, there was an interview of him talking about Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes and the new populist right and content creators. He's very aware of the backlash Candace Owens is getting, and in return, him and Tucker. So I definitely think he's going to tell her to go to Arizona now. I wouldn't even be surprised if he accompanied her to Arizona. She's going to lose all kinds of credibility if she doesn't at least accept the offer, even though they've kind of rescinded the offer. At least that's what they're saying. If she doesn't at least try to go there now, it's going to look bad for her.
If you want to know who the husband is, his name is George Farmer, and he is from the UK. His dad is a lord or something.
Okay.
The assumption is that you are live streaming because you want the internet to be able to attend. Right? That's the whole purpose and function of live streaming an event, is that it invites everybody to be able to attend. So when you extend an invitation of live streaming and you don't explicitly say it must be in person,
but they did. We just played that clip.
Why would I assume that you're going to rescind the offer if I say that I can appear via live stream? Okay. They never said that when they made the offer and they were pretending that they were being sincere. They never made in person.
And I'll say it again, TPUSA has everything to lose because they're the campaign arm of the Conservative Party. So just to allow her to ask questions, even if it's for 20 minutes on remotely, it will at least put some of the concerns to bed, and hopefully they'll gain some credibility back, because right now they're not in a good spot.
But after everything she has done, she is in no position to be demanding anything from them.
A point of their demands. They never also said
that
I had to respond.
She is in a position to make demands only because she has nothing to lose. TPUSA has everything to lose, because if they don't,
she's going to lose her career.
If they don't regain their credibility, it's going to be done for them. They are the campaign arm of the Conservative Party, and a lot of people don't realize that.
Within 24 hours, that's a hostage situation. Okay, there's no way that I could have accommodated all of that in a million years. 24 hours to respond. How about let me see if I can make that work. Even if I could have made it work, which I couldn't have, because my husband instantly said no, you cannot do this Monday. And he runs the household, and he has an important thing going on that day.
Now she remembered.
That are coming in from overseas. But even if I could have made that work, I would not have within 24 hours have confirmed to them if they had even sent me an email, because I have kids. I would have had
that's
organized
pretty good.
things.
And I will say this: you don't like Candace that much.
Right now, I don't know.
I do. And that being said, just remember when you used to work at an international school, a lot of students do watch Candace Owens. And here's the thing. Remember, TPUSA is not only the campaign arm of the Conservative Party, they're trying to set up chapters in every high school across America. If they're losing credibility with Candace Owens, they're going to be losing credibility with the youth, which is going to...
I don't think that many young people watch Candace. I think it's mostly millennial women particularly, but millennials.
And where do you get that idea from?
Just from the kind of people that, for example, respond or are trying to defend her online.
Because I'll make my case. The game did just recently write a song with her in it. She's appealing.
Oh, I have to find that clip as well. Of him explaining that it's not about her and it's kind of like a diss at her, but she's very proud. He
didn't say that.
He did.
No.
He essentially did.
Okay, let's continue on with the show though.
Okay. Hold on. Well, that is part of the show.
But I don't want you to keep searching for however long it takes every time. So
Trent says, agree, not going will do some damage to her reputation regardless. And aside from her very rich husband and her kids and her being a housewife, what she has right now is just her reputation and the attention that it gets her. Because if all comes crumbling down, what else is she going to do?
Well, and she has already tried to back out, saying if Erica Kirk's on stage, I want to be there. She even said on today's show, I'll basically beg if Erica Kirk's on stage to come ask my questions. So she's already kind of planting that she's going to, if they don't budge, she's going to make another offer to come. And then when she does beg to go, she's already kind of preset the ground there.
But then also yesterday and today, again, Nick once, for some reason, has come out as the voice of reason, which I don't agree with him. And I'd love to debate him, for example, on his propositions for the US and what his America First movement means. But he's been pretty on the money with Candace Owens. From Fuentes Updates, quote, Candace Owens' excuses for backing out of the TPUSA Charlie Kirk Q&A are complete BS.
And 1 second, as if you will probably watch the show, I do like Nick Fuentes. I don't agree with all of his views at all, and I do point out where I think he's wrong. That being said, Nat typically doesn't like Fuentes, but his takes on Candace Owens, she's been loving lately and throwing in my face.
And again, one can be discerning and disagree with some things and agree with other things that people say.
This is one of those moments you just got to do it. Put up or shut up. You talk all this shit. She's on her show every day, bobbing her head, all cocky. I'm going to name names, and you better not mess with me because I got the receipts, and I'm going to name the names. That doesn't fit with my timeline. And, she's doing every day. She's doing this bullshit. Finally, they say, all right, you know what? Fine. Come to Turning Point. Let's just do a fucking live stream then. Ask us anything. She goes, oh, I can't do it that day. You know what? Then fuck you. Then you're just a malicious operative. That is pure malice. There's just no excuse for that. And I'm hearing excuses. People say it's the holidays. She's got kids. She could get assassinated. None of that adds up. That's all bullshit. And everybody knows that. It's all a load of fucking bullshit. Everybody knows that if Ben Shapiro called me up and said, let's debate, I would be on the next flight to debate Ben Shapiro. And it's not even comparable because I don't do a show every single day, motherfucking Ben Shapiro for 3 months. I have a feud with him.
Pause it for a sec. We'll continue to watch the clip.
That is true.
He is just a master of words, and I must say,
sorry for the bad words.
And he really, not just in this clip, but he opens up the Overton window and hits all the third rails. I got to give it to Nick here, even though I vehemently disagree with him here.
Come on, you don't think it's a little ridiculous that she's been at this for 3 months? Every single show she does is about this, and now she has the golden opportunity to show up at the gates of the place she's been complaining about, and now she doesn't want to go.
But I do agree, and I do think she's already trying to backtrack, and she's going to try to be there, because if she isn't, she's going to lose credibility, and I have been somebody that has vehemently supported her from the beginning here, even when everybody else is turning against her. But if she doesn't at least make an attempt to go there, she's going to lose credibility even with me.
But if Trump asked me to be on a stream, if Vance put me on a stream, if Shapiro, even if I didn't have complete confidence, I would be nervous, but I would send it. I'd say, I did it with Tucker. Tucker's people hit me up. They said, come and do the show. I was very nervous. I thought he might kill me. But I said, I can't. I literally told myself I can't back down. When I got the text, I was filled with apprehension and fear in the moment. But I said, I can't back down now. I I will either get destroyed or it'll be okay or it'll be a triumph. I said, but I can't back down. That would be far worse. So I said, yeah, fuck it. Let's do it. They said, we'll book your travel. I don't normally let people book my travel for security, but I said, if that's what you do, that's what you do. Fine. And I let them book all my stuff. And I went and I was nervous about it. And I was uneasy the entire time, but I went and I steeled myself and did it. And that's what you have to do because I actually care. If I go and I'm attacking Tucker and I'm saying, you know what, man, bring me on the show then. Bring me on the show. You want a piece of me? Let's do it. When he said, let's do a show, I said, name the time, name the place. They gave me dates. I picked one. We went out there. We did it. I think they hit me up on October 5th and I came out on October 29th. So I had a little bit more notice, but nevertheless.
That's pretty good. And I will say this, it's interesting because Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson are obviously the block together. She was at Tucker's event the other day. It seems like it's her husband, and Tucker. The thing is, if Candace goes out in a blaze and then Tucker goes out in a blaze with her or doesn't have the same reputation as before, Nick Fuentes really is the content creator that takes over the America First movement. It's very interesting.
Going back to Nick, he also mentioned, and I was going to use it to show the pictures of the event, but Nick also said and mentioned that, again, if she's so afraid, why is she going to Dollywood? And why is she going to Tucker Carlson's Christmas event in Tennessee? It's not like it was a super important event. Yeah, and she's letting people take pictures of her out and about, looking not like she's fearing for her life.
Well, and we kind of brought this up on yesterday's show. There was photos of her at Dollywood, which she goes every year. But if there's attempts on her life, it takes away a lot of her credibility, number one. Number two, these could have been pictures from a year ago of the last time she went. It's not 100% confirmed yet.
It kind of is.
But she did go to that Tucker event, so.
Because they found pictures of her going to Dollywood last year, and she had that different outfit, so and the timestamps matched. Yes, you can fabricate timestamps, but there was something else I was going to say. Hold on. No, that's just me. What did you want me to switch?
I just want to switch the cameras because when I look at you, it looks like I'm looking away otherwise.
I've trained myself to look at you properly. But what was I going to say? Now you made me forget.
Well, I will say this. Nick Fuentes was on a Steven Crowder show. And
I remember what I was going to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, today I was watching her show just because Candace's, because if we're going to talk about it, I got to know what she's saying.
Well, and I
noticed.
I must admit, we were actually scheduled to film some shorts and other things before the show, but I have really been liking the fact that Candace is on right before, so we watch it, we get all the breaking news, and then we come right on the air. And I'm motivated to speak about it.
And again, we're not at Candace Owens' channel. Like what we like to do most is just talk about international politics and mostly geopolitics, wars, things that people usually don't want to talk about or you can't talk about. That's kind of our angle.
Well, I hadn't watched her in months, and I only recently started watching it because we started covering it again. The last time I watched her was the whole Brigitte thing that was going on. Yeah. Okay. What were you going to say?
That I was watching her show, as I was saying, and I noticed that it hadn't fully clicked for me, but she said it, and she kind of said it without, I think, noticing she did. She mentioned that, she made these claims that there was a threat on her life. She got, credible sources told her that there was this big threat on her life. And then she came out to mention that she sent a bunch of texts to people in the administration and in the FBI so they would investigate. But she never filed a formal complaint. And that whole thing that she came out to say right before Thanksgiving, right before her show went on break, she came out to say, the show is going to be on break because there are credible threats on my life and the FBI has confirmed receipt of all of these claims. It turns out that those claims that she was making that the FBI confirmed receipt of were text messages, maybe to Dan Bongino or somebody she knows in the administration. And of course they didn't reply to her because, number one, they're insane claims, but number two, why would they have to respond? It's not like if it was a formal FBI, notice of intent, if she actually filed something formally with the FBI, then if that's fake and if it's a fake claim, that's a crime. Okay, so that is why she did not file a formal claim.
Let's go into the FBI clip, though.
No, let's talk about...
No, thanks.
So this is what was next. Let's see, because Nick brought up the whole Tucker Carlson Christmas party, and there's some pictures, too.
And I will say, I do kind of point out that nobody can really be trusted in the movement, whether it's Tucker, Candace, Nick, Candace's husband, TPUSA, the Daily Wire. You just don't know who to trust in this space. That being said, Nick looks like he is obviously separate from Candace and Tucker. That being said, could he possibly be a plant from the other side? Meaning he's gone through a major unbanning. He's got his YouTube station back now as well. So the fact that Candace and Tucker are trying to take over the America First movement, maybe they just unbanned Nick in order to actually give a challenger within the space.
Let's see, from, again, charging, I just grabbed whoever has a clip of it. Let's see what Nick says.
If she's so afraid for her life, why was she at Tucker Carlson's Christmas party in Nashville last night? Why was she at Dollywood on Thanksgiving, the theme park? So, allegedly, the French government and the Israeli intelligence have put a hit out on you. They've paid millions of dollars to kill you, but you're walking around a theme park in your town? You're walking around, for those who don't know, what is it, Dollywood, Dollyland? It's like Dolly Parton's Disney World.
Pause it.
You're walking.
I really want to go.
Dolly World is actually supposed to be absolutely amazing.
Dollywood.
You're on, oh, sorry. You're on, oh, if you can switch the camera. We're on you're on WDW Pro a lot, and they bring, Dollywood actually comes up a lot on that show.
Yeah, because it's doing a lot better because people are sick and tired of the destruction that Disney has caused for their own parks and their own IPs and properties.
Yeah, so if people
and the infestation of IPs within the theme parks.
Yeah, if people don't know about Dollywood or they think about taking a vacation, take a look at it.
I really want to go.
They're not sponsoring us, obviously, in any way, shape, or form, but I've been wanting to go for a while.
Around Disney World? You're walking around an amusement park in your hometown on the holiday weekend when allegedly everyone's trying to kill you. Then you go to a Christmas party with Tucker Carlson in the same city attended by hundreds of people, and people know you're going to be there with Tucker and all the base people in one room. But you can't go to Turning Point where everybody knows you're going to be. And if anything happened to you, God forbid, they would immediately blame Turning Point. It doesn't even make any sense. So she says, I'm going to live stream the live stream and I'm going to fact check it in real time. Why?
And that is very concerning. If she does end up live streaming the live stream and refuse to go, she's going to lose massive credibility. Hopefully she does go. I'm still a supporter of her, but I want to put pressure on her to do the right thing. And that is to go to TPUSA and ask these questions, even if it's not Erica Kirk on stage. She's saying she will go now if Erica Kirk's on stage. She needs to go no matter what, or she at least needs to say, yeah, I want to go. And really, it's her place now to ask them if she can come.
Mm-hmm. And again, I agree with Nick again for some reason. Again, if she's going to TPUSA, and we all know the date and the time because they told her, and she's saying, I don't want to go because of security concerns, and a lot of people and her fans have brought this up. Again, that's the safest place she could ever go because the culprits would be so easy for her fans and anybody else. If she twisted an ankle, she could come out and say, oh, it's them trying to, get at me, even though her heel got stuck in the escalator, something like that. That is the safest place for her to be if anything were to happen, because then the blame is just everybody knows where she was.
I disagree, because if she does go and something does happen, everybody's going to blame it on TPUSA and not the French government. Or the chocolatiers.
No, but they're colluding. She said they're all colluding. The bee people. What else was it? The chocolatiers, the DuPonts, or DuPont, etc.
And I was joking that maybe the chocolatiers already got to her and dipped her in chocolate.
You can be friends with Nick. From Cinema Shogun, these are the pictures. So it just says, quote, Candace Owens at a Christmas party last night with fellow political influencers and various other celebrities. And here I do have a question.
Wait 1 second. I usually gather all the stories for the episodes. I didn't gather any of these. You're doing a hit piece on Candace right now.
I'm not doing a hit piece.
I don't agree with it, but I do think she should.
I'm putting all the building blocks together. She does.
I do think she should go to TPUSA.
I'm just asking questions.
Keep interrupting me more, please.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting.
Okay.
I'm just asking questions.
Okay.
What is interesting, what I was going to say is, again, this was Tucker Carlson's Christmas party, but again, there's all of these other political influencers. We see Alex Stein there, we see Michael Knowles, and they all saw her there, but they haven't really mentioned or talked about this whole thing. Neither has Tucker, as we mentioned. So where do they stand? Why are they taking pictures with her if they know, or maybe if she knows, that if these pictures come out, people are going to be questioning what she's doing outside of a bunker?
Well, I think the Daily Wire kind of has already been taken out. They've lost a ton of credibility. TPUSA is kind of trying to step in that slot where the Daily Wire kind of was. They are representative of the neocons right now. That being said, I don't think anybody wants to step up to Candace or add fuel to the fire to distract right now.
But now some people are, luckily.
Yeah. Why don't you go into the next clip there?
Yes. So next is, we actually had talked about this and you mentioned it as well, where today a fan called in to Charlie Kirk's show, which was being hosted by Blake Neff. I forget his name. Yeah, by Blake Neff, and asked why.
Blake Neff used to work for Tucker Carlson and was fired for some really despicable comments.
Allegedly.
So much, no, not allegedly. So much so I can't bring him on the show because other content creators are getting strikes for even saying what he said. So. One second. There is a channel, Jesse on Fire. He covered this story earlier. So if you do want to get the actual comments, he got the closest you can get without getting a strike.
But I said allegedly because formally in the firing documents, something else is stated, or it's not stated explicitly. So just because
the documentation's online though.
But so. I was saying, a fan called into the Charlie Kirk show and did ask the questions as to why does Candace have to be in person, and this was a response that they gave. Why the insistence of it being in person?
And she's saying she can't attend in person. Can she attend on a live stream, or and you guys do live streams all the time? And is that going to be an option? I'm just trying to make this come together.
And yeah. They can do a live stream every single day, or most days they do have guests on a live stream. So
it's not because remotely. They can't, it's because they want her to face them face to face live.
No, they wanted to try
and so she can't have people sending her things and putting things up on screen saying, oh, say this now, say
they're
that
trying
now.
to promote their event.
That's it, of course.
They don't actually want her to be there, but
I think they do want her to be there.
Of course, Gina. So first of all, our initial statement, it was on the show on Wednesday. I made it at the request of Erica. All of this has been at the direction and approval of Erica because she heads this. And so what we were announcing there is we said she has said things that are not true, and we did not address them for a long time. We stated the reasons why, that we thought a lot of them were just not, how to put it, we initially just thought no one would believe a lot of what was being said. And we also we remembered the same friendship that Charlie had, and we just hoped that this would go away without requiring any sort of direct statement or confrontation from us. So what was approved is we announced we are going to respond to this. And what I said was we are going to announce a date soon. We actually hadn't agreed on it at the time I read the statement. We're going to announce a date where we're going to respond to this. And once we announce it, Candace is free to attend in person. That is what we announced. And so once we agreed on a time, I announced what the time was going to be. Candace, for her part, had said, you name the time, you name the place. That is what we did. As for why it was put out at that time, I would just say I don't think she had any difficulty in finding out what our scheduled time was. It seems everyone found it out quite quickly. And lastly, on the point of why it's in person, I think it's pretty intuitive that given what is being said, the way this has worked is that it's critical to be in person if you want to be authentic and to be detailed. And that is what we think is a fair request to make if she's going to participate. But regardless, it is going to go forward because we have agreed that some response needs to be made. And so that's going to happen when we announced it on December 15th.
Oh, and it cut off after that part.
Because they went to a radio break.
Yeah, but no, she started asking another question that was a little bit too hot for them, and then they said they had to go to radio break. I mean, the truth of the matter is a lot of people aren't trusting TPUSA. They're starting to have this feeling of a corrupt megachurch, and they need to quell some of these fears if they want to.
And with that, I will agree. As I said, I don't like that aspect of them and the road they were going on even before Charlie was assassinated.
Yeah, maybe they need to get some new personalities on their show. I don't know what they need to do. One thing they definitely need to do is if Candace does agree to go, is actually have her there and try to put the stuff to bed.
But again, I do understand the insistence of it being in person because she has to face up to what she's been saying to the people live. Of course, it's really easy to lie about people and make up stories if you don't have to face them. But then if you have to face them,
okay, did you
it's a little bit harder to lie.
Did you get the next clip about Erica Kirk from TPUSA?
No.
They released a statement saying it's Erica Kirk's request.
They just said that. We just watched it.
No, there was another one that I had grabbed another statement.
Are you sure?
Yeah. That's why I think you said they were the same, but they weren't the same.
Okay, hold on. Continue.
God, what was I gonna say?
I think it's. I mean, it's a different post, but it's the same clip we just watched.
No, they said it was okay. Just leave it.
No, I found it. I have it.
Okay.
But again, I think it's the same one. Hold on.
This is not the clip.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
This is the other one.
Okay.
At the request of Erica Kirk.
Okay.
But it's from the same clip we just watched.
First of all, our initial statement, it was on the show on Wednesday. I made it at the request of Erica. All of this has been at the direction and approval of Erica because she heads this. First of all,
That's a different clip, but it's from the same thing we just watched.
I don't think it was.
It is. People in the chat, please. We just watched him say that, and we watched him say it again.
Okay, let's continue on. What's the next wrinkle to this story?
So from the allegations that Candace Owens did or said about her having a threat on her life.
Oh, 1 second. By the way, we are going to cover all the major news, and there was a lot of major news and censorship news today coming out of the US, the UK, and Canada. But
we usually cover.
What we usually cover, but I think we'll probably go another 15 minutes on this and then get into that.
Quickly, I'll read Trent's comment. If you have any comments, if you want to debate, tell us that we're wrong, we're right. We read every single comment. You don't have to, we aren't even monetized, so you don't have to super chat, but we will read your comment. Trent says, if Candace does go, will they actually give her time to speak and ask questions? They seem to have an agenda of how it will go. And I'm sure they've planned it. I'm sure they've planned how they want it to be.
I think they're trying to manipulate the situation by saying you have 24 hours. And then she said she'd be on a live stream. And then they said, we're going to go ahead without you. So now when she begs to actually go there, which I think she's going to do, they're going to say, okay, but we already scheduled around you. So you're not going to have as much time as normal. Because you're the one that denied coming in the first place.
But like in the content creation sphere, it is very common to have people jump in or go or get invited with less than 24 hours notice. I was recently interviewed and we set it up, I think, the day before. Yeah. So that's completely normal. And my interview wasn't about this giant thing like Candace's is. Candace has been dedicating 3 months since Charlie Kirk was assassinated to this.
Okay, and
now she can't show up.
Okay, but if she does end up going to the TPUSA event, I think an hour is fair. If they give her less than an hour, I think there's going to be some controversy around that. I think they're going to try to frame it around the fact that she canceled and then they booked other people in, so they can only give her half an hour. Half an hour is not enough time.
No, but the Charlie Kirk show is what, like 2 hours and a half, 3 hours? It's pretty long.
Yeah, but it's a big event that day. That's the thing. They're going to have a ton of guests already scheduled to come in there. So
I don't know.
Well, my question to you was, what's a fair amount of time to give Candace on stage to ask the questions?
Again, it's not on stage. They're on a studio.
Well, yeah, in the studio. What do you think is a fair amount of time? Because if they don't...
To go through every single claim, I'd say just do the whole show about that.
Yeah, I think so too. But
then who's going to watch?
And everybody's going to watch.
I don't know.
Everybody. I'm going to watch. It could
get boring.
No. We and you have been covering this for 3 or 4 days now.
That's why I'm pissed. Tired of it.
But if they don't give her enough time, say they try to give her half an hour or even 45 minutes, there's still going to be a lot of controversy and this isn't going to be put to bed. So they need to give her a large block of time for this thing.
If they want her to go away, yes.
Yeah.
But again, with her assassination claims, there have been people asked about it within the administration.
Wait, one more thing. Candace went today and everybody was wearing maroon shirts. Oh, yeah. Everybody was wearing maroon shirts.
What was that about?
And I could have bought into that normally. And she's obviously investigating every single person on the ground. The problem was when I looked at Utah State University's colors, it was red. When your state colors are red, typically you can also get a maroon. A lot of people wear maroon at the campus. I've been to a couple of universities where their color was red, so people are wearing variations of red, which is maroon. So,
but Utah Valley University or Utah State University?
I put Utah University in there.
Oh, because this was Utah Valley University.
Why don't you type it out and see what their colors are?
Because she said that those weren't their colors.
Oh, she did say that.
Yeah.
Well, type it in and see what comes up for their colors then.
Colors. White and green.
Okay, so
but what other Utah universities are there?
Yeah, there is one in red, and that's why a lot of people in the crowd were wearing red.
Yeah, the University of Utah is white and red.
Yeah.
And then kind of maroonish too.
So you would think because it's
it's the official Utah red.
And you would also think because
that's their guidelines for, and again, that's another university in Utah. Yes, I hear you.
Okay, let's keep going.
Continue.
What's the next story?
I'm waiting for you to continue.
I'm done.
What were you going to say about the
because it was at the one university, you're going to see other universities kind of come over, so you would expect to see red, I would think.
Mm-hmm. And again, red is also the American flag.
I can understand what she was saying, but because another major university's color is red, and students from that campus would probably come over because this is a big turning point event, I don't think it's that strange.
But she specifically said maroon. She didn't say red. And I think it's because she knows there's another university, like Utah State University or whatever, that's their color.
Yeah, but I also noticed when she was showing the kids with the maroon shirts, there was a lot of people with red as well. And I said, if somebody's wearing red and then they have maroon, it's close enough. Or if it's
and maybe they don't have a red shirt.
Hold on,
they wanted to wear.
If it's the school's color, a lot of times they sell vintage gear, or people don't want the bright red, so a maroon is more of a conservative choice very often.
And again, most of the events that Charlie Kirk did, and people dress also in, American flag colors, American colors, which is red, white, and blue.
I do think there's a ton of money putting into this investigation through her husband. And I do think if she's able to ask these questions, some things are going to be uncovered here. I just think
she doxed a bunch of poor college students today with her whole, this person's wearing maroon and that person's wearing maroon. But because she was trying to connect it to, the military sometimes dresses in specific colors when they're going undercover, and then the Air Force or something to do with the air.
You would typically have a color of the day if you're doing an operation, I would think. So you can identify who else is part of the operation.
But she did say her sources on this were some of her viewers that emailed her and that they were in the military, and that's how she knew that that probably that's why they were all in the same color.
And as everybody knows at this point, I am kind of on Candace's side, and I want to see this thing through to the end. That being said, when she's trying to say she's doing the investigation, it's her and the viewers, there's obviously a team behind her, and I think they're making calls and figuring out a lot of the logistics, and she's maybe coming at the end, putting the finishing touches on it. But I think this is a bigger power play to take over the conservative movement.
Because she does, and she has made a concerted effort to say, it's me and 4 people that run this show. She's always saying it's just me and 4 other people, and you're helping me, and the viewers are always more discerning, and you can find we are better detectives than the ones we have officially working for the U.S. government. She said that today too. So I think a lot of the sources, at least she has, is just viewers finding things.
Well, I will say this, when we did watch the Nick Fuentes clip, and he said, I was actually kind of scared to go see Tucker. If you don't know Tucker, he lives in the middle of nowhere in a forest, and there is a lot of rumors that he works for the CIA. So, and Nick Fuentes, I mean, good on him for actually going there. I will say that. And now it didn't necessarily work out. I think they were trying to set him up. Tucker and Candace both, when they went on both shows, they tried to play nice. Candace's true colors came out, and then Tucker's true colors came out the next day. They want the America First movement to be theirs. They don't want anybody else in that space. They want to control that space, and they have the money to do so through Candace's husband.
And let's continue let's just blast through these last things about Candace.
Okay.
The whole controversy. But regarding the claims that Candace has made of the attempts against her life from be it the French government, the bees, or the chocolatiers, people have been asking people in the administration about it, and they've all kind of been giving responses of either I have no idea about this, or let's watch what, who was it? Kash Patel, FBI Director Kash Patel, responded to Megyn Kelly about these claims as well. If it plays.
There's been an allegation made by prominent podcaster Candace Owens that she's received a death threat, a credible death threat from the French, that a threat has been made on her life, and that the French, she's been told, also may have had a role in Charlie's assassination. Have you looked into either of those? Do you believe she's received a credible death threat from the French, or that the French had something potentially to do with Charlie's death?
Any American that receives a death threat from overseas or anywhere in America is going to be fully investigated. So we're not going to turn our eye away from that investigation or any others. If there's anything to it, this FBI will respond to it.
Okay, but so far, no.
We are just looking at everything that comes in. We're not going to reject any piece of information. If someone feels that their life is being threatened, we are, of course, looking at it.
There's been...
But she didn't file a formal complaint.
I will say this. She's losing some credibility because she's going to these events, whether it's the Tucker thing or the Dollywood thing. I mean, if she has really credible threats upon her life, which she's claiming to have, she's really stressed this a lot on every single episode. It doesn't look good that she's going to these events. And if she wants to try to use that as an excuse not to go to the TPUSA event, I don't think it's going to fly anymore because she has been seen at these other events. So I really hope she doesn't try to make that claim.
Because she did initially.
Yeah, if she does go, she should have a large security team and bring her husband with her. Was that the last clip for? Okay.
Trump Briggs says, I'd vote for Candace for next president. I mean, at this point.
And it's making it very interesting within this space. And we do know with J.D. Vance, and we've talked about this before, this whole Candace thing came up. There's J.D. Vance and there's Marco Rubio. Trump's trying to put him, those are the major candidates to kind of take over the movement. Marco Rubio is a neocon. He's with the other neocons within Trump's sphere. There's three others, Scott Bessent and, oh God, what was her name again?
Sorry, my contact came out. Who?
The other girl I always say is a neocon with Marco.
Susie Wilds.
Oh, Susie Wilds, yeah.
Woman.
So it's Rubio, Susie Wilds, obviously backed by the Daily Wire, and I think TPUSA isn't that. They would love for him to be the next candidate, but they're going to have to try to leapfrog JD Vance in some way. I think Candace Tucker want to back JD Vance, and then I think you have independent players like Nick, who don't have a dog in the fight yet.
He's a wild one. He has weird ideas about National Socialism, and we refuted those as well.
But it's so nice to have Nick within the space because he'll go after Candace, and then he'll go after TPUSA, and he'll go after Tucker, and he'll really touch the third rails and point things out. And he just brings something good to the conversation rather than just having everything cookie cutter. And here's TPUSA, here's Candace, whoever wins, wins. And
we've said, and again, one of the foundational things of this channel is free speech and freedom of expression and being able to say whatever you want. And while I don't agree with Nick, and I would love to debate him on a lot of the points he has, I don't agree with the whole let's censor him, let's disavow him, let's et cetera, that a lot of other more neocon-y and that are now coming up as well, like Barry Weiss, have been saying lately.
Yeah,
and then why won't you disavow him?
Barry Weiss is part of the new conservative media mainstream, which is actually part of the Daily Wire. Part of, like, you're seeing these battle lines kind of being drawn. And then Nick Fuentes is just kind of hanging out there, but you're wondering, how did he get uncensored all of a sudden? And he's the biggest content creator. I think. And
how is Candace the biggest content creator if she says everybody gets canceled if they talk about Israel?
Yeah, I didn't like one comment that Nick said today, and I will kind of mention it. He's saying Candace is going too far, and he's almost trying to put barriers on what's acceptable speech now. No, the reason I do like Nick or I do like Candace is they really push the Overton window and open it up. So free speech is free speech, because you're seeing a lot of people in the conservative space try to put guardrails on what's acceptable to talk about.
And also on what they themselves want to say. Because again, we didn't see a lot of people talk about the whole Candace Owens controversy and what she'd been doing for the past 3 months. Everybody was really quiet. Then Tim Pool kind of started speaking out. Josh Hamley? Hamley.
Okay.
The quartering.
Oh, yeah.
Is his name Josh? Jeremy Hamley. Sorry, I just call him the quartering. And a bunch of other people have, in the past week at least, and I think it's what helped ramp this up, been speaking out about either the insanity or their theories about why she's doing this. But someone that did speak a while ago about it was Ali Beth Stuckey. And I do like her, not always agree with her, but she was one of the first big names that has a big podcast and is with The Blaze to speak on it. So let's see why she thinks people don't want to talk about it.
Let's just
and it's self-preservation.
Let's just put this context in there as well. Yeah, she is good. Even some people at the Daily Wire are good, but let's just remember she is within that media complex of the Daily Wire and
she's with The Blaze.
No, hold on.
But
she is with that complex of the Daily Wire and The Blaze. A lot of people know that is the conservative kind of alternative mainstream media space.
Well,
I can tell you first that there's no incentive to comment on anything that Candace does or says. One way or another, you're going to make people angry if you do, possibly including Candace herself. And anyone who has ever gotten in Candace's crosshairs knows that if you do or say something that she perceives as subverting her, she will retaliate with 10 times the force that you approached her. And that retaliation may involve attempts at character assassination. And she's got an army of very loyal followers who feel very emboldened to amplify her messages on social media. So there is much well-founded hesitation, I would say, and in some cases, fear that some people have. People don't want to disagree with Candace publicly or push back against her at all. She's got that massive audience. She has a lot of power, the #1 podcast in the world.
And she's saying that because people at the Blaze are scared to say stuff because they've already, the Daily Wire, when they crossed Candace and Nick, it didn't turn out well for them. So the Blaze does not want to end up like the Daily Wire.
No, but
they've been tarnished.
After she said this, or if I don't remember if it was in this episode, she actually did go hard against Candace and did state her actual opinion and how damaging what Candace is doing to Erica.
I don't think this is a true statement because everybody's going hard at Candace.
No, but she did this a month ago, I think.
Okay, let's continue.
This was from a while
Let's continue to play.
World as of last week, which doesn't surprise me at all. She is incredibly talented. She's got so much influence, probably more than anyone in right-wing media. And, you know, she talks a lot about this kind of David versus Goliath dynamic on her podcast. But the truth is that Candace is a giant. And so I am talking about this for the same reason that I talk about anything, certainly not because there is an incentive. I feel no pressure to do so. I feel responsibility to give my audience, my listeners and viewers that God has entrusted to me, the same thing that I always try to give you, and that is clarity and courage.
Okay.
You had added that one.
Huh?
You had added that one, and I was trying to give it context. Okay, we're rounding out the whole influencer infighting conservative movement, and then we'll get into more news. But Nick Fuentes did go on Steven Crowder. We've been talking a lot about Nick Fuentes lately, and apparently he found it to be okay. Like, he found Crowder, the conversation he had with Crowder, to be okay. A lot of people after came out to continue to complain about Nick Fuentes lying and all the questions he said no to, he actually does. But
well, Fuentes is actually scheduled to be on Piers Morgan on Monday, and it's going to be very interesting because that's going to be an extremely confrontational interview. Piers Morgan openly doesn't like Fuentes and a lot of the things that he says. The last person that was on Piers Morgan's show that was similar to Fuentes that Piers Morgan really didn't like and he was going to make an example of was Andrew Tate. And when Tate came on there, it absolutely backfired on Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan tried to run it back again and bring Tate on again and confront him again. And again, it did not turn out well for Piers Morgan. And eventually Piers Morgan shifted his views more in line with Andrew Tate, and it made Andrew Tate a sympathetic figure at that time. I think the same thing is going to happen with Fuentes. Fuentes is very smart, very quick-witted. He knows the talking points. He knows how to debate. I think he's going to absolutely destroy Piers Morgan when he goes on there. It's going to make him a sympathetic figure, and it's going to make him bigger than he's already kind of becoming.
And Trent Briggs says, true, who would have thought how Ben Shapiro has lost a lot of credibility?
Even Nick Fuentes said, Ben Shapiro was the person that I used to kind of watch and brought me into conservatism. For me, it was the same thing. I started watching a lot of those clips where Ben Shapiro was dunking on college students. The thing is, Ben Shapiro can only dunk on college students, but it took me a long time to realize that. I would love to see a debate between him and Nick Fuentes. And as Fuentes said, he'll do it any place, anytime. And you have to believe he actually will. He'll hop on a plane. It won't be like what Candace Owens and this TPUSA thing's turning out to maybe be.
And it's the whole, we don't want to platform him conversation. When in reality, the best way to shut him up, if you want to shut him up, is to debate him and expose him for the wrong points he has or he's trying to make.
It's going to be interesting if somehow Candace turns this thing around and her and Tucker gain a lot of influence and power in the space again, because right now, a lot of that space is turning against Candace. But if she manages to turn it around, go to this TPUSA event, ask a lot of questions, I think at that point, what you'll see is Ben Shapiro bring on Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes, I think, is that other person in the America First space that could challenge Candace and Tucker, and they already don't like each other. But right now, Ben Shapiro does not want to platform Nick Fuentes because he doesn't want to make Nick Fuentes any bigger than he already is. The only time he would want to make him bigger is if Candace and Tucker kind of take over that space.
But let's see what Nick Fuentes actually said about his conversation with Steven Crowder, which he thought might have been hostile as well, because he hasn't been the best of friends to Steven Crowder either. They've been infighting as well a long time ago.
And I stopped watching Crowder a while ago. I watched him again on this interview. I thought the show's pretty good. I'll maybe start watching him again.
Yes, so let's just see what he says.
Yeah, it's a little bit late. I didn't do a show last night. It's just been a very slow week. I feel like nothing has been happening in the news at all. I didn't do a show last night. I was a little tired, and I was thinking about canceling tonight. Again, there's like nothing in the news, but I said I can't skip so much of the show. But also, before we get into the news, I had this major collaboration with Steven Crowder this morning, and I hope y'all tuned in. I thought it was great. We had a pretty solid viewership. I think there were 85,000 people watching on Rumble. I don't know how many on YouTube, but I thought it went really great. I was very pleasantly surprised. I had no idea what to expect. And him and I have both said negative things about each other in the past. And so, like with everything else, I had no idea if it was going to be a confrontation, if it was going to be hostile. But they emailed me and they said, it's going to be a discussion. We want you to flesh out your views. I said, well, I'm happy to do it. So I went on the show, and you can watch it. It's on Rumble. It's on Steven Crowder's channel. It's on YouTube as well. And I was very pleasantly surprised. I was surprised at how well I got along with him. I didn't think I would, to tell you the truth.
Pause it for a minute.
But
and this is how I would kind of like to see things go in the conservative space. Crowder famously doesn't agree with all of Nick's opinions, and the people in Crowder's studio really don't like a lot of Nick's opinions. So it could have been very confrontational, but he brought him on there, and they started off with some softball questions, kind of felt each other out, and then they got into a real debate and challenged each other on the ideas rather than just throwing mud at each other. And at the end, they ended
amicably.
Say it again?
Amicably.
Even when they did disagree. So I thought it actually brought the conservative movement forward as far as what are the best ideas. And that's what we need to start focusing on again. What are the best ideas, not who's involved in what scandal.
I did. And I thought he was very congenial and very nice and fair. And we didn't agree on everything. I actually really liked the interview because we had a serious disagreement and heated. It almost got heated, but it wasn't personal. It wasn't personal. It wasn't name calling. It wasn't vicious. We have a strong disagreement. I think he would call himself more of a conservative, and I'm a reactionary. I am more radical. And I don't say that to one up him, but I just am. I'm more radical in my tactics. I think my ideology is more radical. And we had a pretty intense disagreement about Trump and about how we move forward with Trump. And he was pressing me, and I pushed back a little bit. But you know what? It was a good faith disagreement, and I like that. I have no problem with that. I actually invite it. I welcome it.
Okay, because that's pretty good. And I will say this: Nick Fuentes was actually against guns on that. Now, he said he wouldn't be against the Second Amendment, but he was talking about it's crazy for everybody to have guns in the city. Now, I think the Second Amendment is an absolutely fundamental foundation, and if you get rid of that, it gives too much power to the government, and the government already has too much power. I was very surprised that he actually was as honest as he was, because I knew he would get a lot of flack for that. But because Crowder really wanted to have an honest discussion, an honest debate, Nick engaged on that. I think when Nick goes on Piers Morgan, it's not going to be that. It's going to be, I'm out here, I'm here for blood, as soon as Piers Morgan goes for the throat.
And you can watch it on Steven Crowder's channel, be it on RUMBLE or YouTube. I think they still left it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, I think Nick is also coming back on YouTube.
Yeah, he's got like 3 or 4 videos on there now, so he's back within that space.
And I will say something that, again, I fell off from Crowder as well when the whole drama with the Daily Wire and the drama with his wife and etc. When he went just to purely Rumble because nobody else wanted him anywhere. But lately he has been coming out also kind of as the voice of reason, specifically with Candace. And he was one of the first that spoke out about Candace and really was confronting her directly, through the screen. So I will give him that. But at the same time, I've been watching him doing his whole campus debates again and his Prove Me Wrong segments. And he also did it with Nick. And it's something I don't like because he does something where it's clear he's using a tactic, and he makes it too obvious that he's using that to disarm people, and it just annoys me to no end. So someone will sit next to him and he'll say, oh, you're wearing a tie. Like someone is asking about like, why are you against immigration, blah, blah. And he'll first go and say, oh, you're wearing a tie. Oh, I remember when a tie tried to choke me, and I know it's so horrible. And I know he's doing it to disarm the person, but he just makes it too obvious that that's what he's doing.
When it comes to Fuentes,
that annoys me.
When it comes to Fuentes, Crowder had the exact right tactic that you want to use.
After.
And I think he's now built a relationship. So if he has him back on, Nick Fuentes' guards let down a little bit, and he's willing to engage in these debates and actually give his honest opinions. Where I don't think he's always going to give his honest opinions if he thinks it's a blood sport debate. Mm-hmm. So to really flesh out people's ideas, make it a bit of a safer space where you're not just going to go after them.
Yeah, a safer space. Just Crowder, work on your tactics as to how you approach people and how you do that disarming thing without being that obvious.
And I think it's very interesting to watch the sub players, not the big major power players like TPUSA, the Daily Wire, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson. These are the major players really trying to take over the space. It's very interesting to watch Steven Crowder, Nick Fuentes,
Tim Pool
with
his van down by the river.
But Tim Pool is a little bit too close to the administration for me.
No.
There's Andrew Wilson is another one. It's very interesting to see these not the major players and how they interact, because all these people still know the major players, and to see their opinions on them.
And speaking of, you did watch this yesterday. I guess that's why you put it in here, because you had spoken about this before, and you are a lot into the whole debate.
Oh yeah.
Blood sport kind of also debating. I don't really like it. But you did watch this, and I guess you wanted to talk about it, so I'll just leave it up there.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up really quick. I thought this would be a debate for the ages. It was going to really show which direction the libertarian movement was going to go in if somebody won it.
Who they are?
If somebody won this debate decisively. So the gentleman with the red hair and the beard there is Liquid Zulu. He's the intellectual, I would say, vanguard of the libertarian space right now. Dave Smith has been a libertarian for well over 20 years. He knows all the big players, but he understands the flaws of libertarianism, and he's more of a populist libertarian and trying to take libertarianism in a different direction that the other gentleman is. It was very interesting what happened. There was a decisive victor, and it was Dave Smith. That being said, I've watched a lot of Dave Smith debates. He's very good, but I've seen him lose a few times. I thought Liquid Zulu, because they've never interacted with each other, was actually going to win this debate fairly easily. And by the end of the debate, I think Dave Smith actually felt sorry for Liquid Zulu. He lost it dramatically. Today I was looking through X, and you're seeing a lot of Liquid Zulu's followers talk about how he destroyed in the debate, yet there's not a single clip, because I don't think he ever won a single talking point. He has to take these very radical libertarian views of open borders and other things, like where Dave Smith literally said at the end, libertarianism for me, or libertarianism is best when it is a legal theory, meaning this is what you should do, but if you're going to break some of these rules, it's just a legal theory. And I think it works well in the context Dave Smith really pitched it as, and I think it has a future, the direction Dave Smith is going. So I wanted to talk about it because I had brought it up the other day. It was a very good debate. I highly do recommend watching it, especially if you know anything about libertarianism. And libertarianism is really going through a change and a metamorphosis right now. There's a distinct left and right within the libertarian movement. That's why a lot of libertarians voted for Trump last time. Okay.
I'll read some comments now. Steve Serparo, hello. And thank you for saying I was a voice of reason yesterday on WDW Pro and on X. I did see it. I didn't get to like it, but I'm liking it now. So thank you. Steve Serparo says, which high subscriber casters are not calling Candace out? They're either in on the grift or keeping pace with her success, or keeping pace with her success, i.e. Miss Megyn Kelly. And for a long time, I think that one of the first people I saw speaking out about it was that segment from Ali Beth Stuckey we just played, because that was like a month and a half ago. That was a long time ago, at least in, media time. And now, since I think the quartering, Tim Pool, more people started speaking out, more and more have joined in now that they see it's safe. And I think that they see she's really, gone off the deep end. And especially now that TPUSA has answered, I think more and more will start coming out. But they were keeping very quiet and trying to not say anything. And I think that also let her continue down her, crusade a lot longer than she should have.
Well, her and Tucker are connected.
Before being questioned by TPUSA.
Her and Tucker are connected at the hip, and whatever they're doing behind the scenes, they're trying to either clear out or take control of the conservative space. It's very obvious, especially with the way Tucker never used to really flip-flop the way he is now. And it's just been very interesting in the fact that he is so closely aligned with Candace behind the scenes.
And Candace's husband.
Yeah.
And all the power that he brings as well, and all the connections and influence he has had behind the scenes that, not all people are aware of.
People are starting to realize this, and it's putting Candace in the position she's going to have to go live to this TPUSA event. Otherwise, it's not going to look good for the future of what they're trying to do.
Yeah. And Steve Safar also says, you two and Tim Pool are the only podcasters bringing up how she may be trying to fracture the GOP that could give birth to a new party. And there is this vie for power now that we all know that Trump is not going to do the third term thing as to who's going to be the heir to the, I don't want to say throne because I don't want to give the left any more, fodder than they have already, but who's going to be the next one that's going to represent everything that they had been building, that Charlie Kirk had been building as well before he got assassinated? Who's going to be the voice? And well, there's too many voices fighting right now.
And it's not just the voice, it's really the ideological direction of conservatism. That's what they're fighting for. Mm-hmm. Candace and Tucker are America First, but they're a very distinct type of America First. There's other America First people like Nick Fuentes and other people within that space vying for that space. Tucker and Candace have the money behind them and have positioned themselves very well to take over the America First wing of it. The problem is the neocons probably have the most rooted power base within conservatism. Trump hasn't been able to root that out. TPUSA, the Daily Wire, Blaze TV, they're all within that section. Mm-hmm. So I don't necessarily think she's necessarily trying to fracture it. She's trying to take control of it. And I think TPUSA is trying to do the same thing. So.
And Steve Savara says, conflict gets clicks. Well, we've proven it. We've been speaking about this nonstop just because we saw the numbers. And I did want to continue to run the experiment of how many of those views, and if we put the name and the photo in the thumbnail as well of Candace Owens, why do we get such a big surge? Yeah, every time we do it.
A lot of it seems like it is bots. But that being said, I am going to continue to cover this.
Well, yeah, now we're invested.
In the beginning of most of the shows, maybe not quite an hour every time, but at least until the 16th. If Candace does show up there and does get to answer the questions, depending on how that goes, I might cover it past the 16th. But I think it's going to be a lot of interesting news leading right up to it. Mm-hmm. So.
But there has been other news in the world and in the U.S. That we also kind of haven't covered. We've tried to, but I'm sure now we'll get a fall off of people watching because we're moving into actual news that has been unfortunately ignored. I mean, a lot of people have been speaking about it, but not to the extent that, for example, finding out who the J6 boom boom person was.
Very interesting. But before we do get into that, if you're not subscribed, if you could do so, that would be great. We lost a subscriber during the cast. So somebody was obviously either a huge Candace or a huge TPUSA.
Or a bot.
Yeah, because I think we cover both sides. We show the dirt on kind of both sides there, but somebody didn't like it. So
that's fine.
We're getting close to 600 though. So
again, I say I want people to disagree with me, but still continue to watch because that's what I do with people. I watch, I read, etc. I think it's important to have that discernment, but also have those points of view, even if you don't agree with them.
Okay, let's get into this pipe bomber.
I was trying not to say those words, but okay. Thank you. From Nick Sortor, WTF, CNN's Jake Tapper just went out of his way to lie and call the J6 boom boom person a white man. And the information came out. They finally caught him, found out who he was, but there are a lot of questions, surrounding if it truly is the person, if the person that did it was a woman because of the way the person was walking on that day and bending down to pick up things.
This ends up being a huge scandal, and I don't know if it was that woman or not. We did report on it earlier that it might have been a former Washington police officer that was working for the CIA now. That being said, they're saying it's not her and it's now this gentleman. This gentleman's I believe his father ran a bail bonds for illegal immigrants. So it's very interesting, and they're very connected, it seems like, in the left political space. It's very interesting how Jake Tapper reported that this was a white man, and it obviously isn't. This is going against their complete narrative. One other big interesting wrinkle on this story is all the evidence was sitting there with it collecting dust in an FBI room, supposedly. They already knew who this was, but under the Biden administration, they never went after it, and they kind of just let it rest in that room, and nobody really looked back into the case until recently. So,
but yes, Nick Sortor says, quote, WTF, CNN's Jake Tapper just went out of his way to lie and call the J6 boom person a white man. CNN refused to show a picture of the alleged person that did it, who is clearly a black man, so I overlaid a photo of him on their clip. But by now, I mean, this is just the usual shenanigans, and it shouldn't really surprise anyone, but it also helps make the case of we can clearly see what CNN is trying to do.
Let's play this, and then I do have another interesting fact about this story at the end.
Capitol attack. Brian Cole Jr., a 30-year-old white man from the D.C. suburbs, is charged with transporting an explosive device in interstate commerce and with malicious destruction by means of explosion. CNN observed local and federal law enforcement outside his home in Woodbridge, Virginia this morning.
Well, maybe he identifies as white, I guess. That being said, the interesting wrinkle to this was, and I didn't realize this until today when I was investigating this, Kamala Harris was within 20 feet of one of those boom boom devices. Luckily, it didn't go off at the time. But that being said, there could be bigger charges kind of pressed here. I'm very interested to see what kind of charges they do press. All the January 6ers did get pardons. The left is saying this guy should be included in the January 6th pardons. The thing is, he planted those bombs the night before January 6th. So he should not be included in that. And yeah.
And Steve Safaro says, it's definitely the YouTube algorithm. My notifications for your channel got turned off. So thank you for that other, piece of the puzzle as to why Candace Owens and her name, and also I think Nick Fuentes, are getting pushed a lot by either the algorithm, by bots, by themselves, by someone else that wants to have them out there and have those opinions out there, be it for negative or positive reasons. So thank you.
Well, let's go into the second part of this story if we can.
So from the Daily Wire says, quote, I'm sorry, does the left really think trespassing and planting boom boom devices are equivalent? And we'll see.
And forgive me for this clip because there is a lot of back and forth chatter, so it's hard to hear. They're getting in an argument, but they're basically trying to justify this guy. He should get a pardon, they're saying, which is crazy.
And that was Isabel Brown, who now works for the Daily Wire. But let's see what they said.
I do wonder if he had been actually caught around the time of January 6th and prosecuted, would he have been included in Trump's pardons?
I mean, okay, this is absolutely beyond the pale to me, to be honest, to claim that we don't know any sort of inkling of a motive of this individual, when just a few months prior, there was a lawsuit ruled in the Trump administration's favor against this particular individual for his company seeking to let illegal immigrants out of prison on bail bonds. He purchased the supplies in 2019.
Just to clarify,
very clearly.
What we're saying is that on that podium there.
Yeah, you're suggesting that he's tied to January 6th insurrectionists, theoretically, because had he been found at that time.
We are saying that Kash Patel and Pam Bondi did not provide a motive. And so you can speculate all you want, but the authorities who are charging this guy haven't laid out a motive. That's all I've said. The other thing is that, no, I'm not suggesting that he was tied to stop the steal, but I'm not sure why you think that would be.
Your question was, had he been discovered right after January 6th, would he have been included in the pardoning from individuals who participated?
So it's called a hypothetical. Had he been prosecuted alongside all of those other people who were involved in violent acts on January 6th, would Donald Trump have pardoned him?
No, because individuals who walked into the Capitol building on January 6th were not planting pipe bombs.
What about the
DNC and
what about the ones that used the American flag?
But again, it's rich to me that now the media is saying we have no idea what the motive is for this person.
Hold on.
This network, MSNBC,
Isabel, what about the people?
48 hours of January 6th.
What about the people who used an American flag?
This was intended to foment additional chaos, to detract from law enforcement.
I get that you don't want to. I get that you don't want to grapple with the facts of what happened.
Original question.
No, well, let me ask you a question. What about the people who assaulted and beat police officers on January 6th.
I have regularly said,
so do you
I
think...
didn't want to get dinged because I forgot it was a CNN clip. Okay, we can go into the next story, but
so shenanigans as always.
I did want an update on that story because they had accused somebody else, which apparently now it's not. So,
but then it is also important to continue to talk about that and talk about the shenanigans and highlight examples of what they're still trying to do on the left and the insanity that pervades it and the mainstream media that a lot of people are still, consuming and watching. Aside from, and I know we just did it for an hour and a half and 15 minutes, but aside from just focusing on the infighting and the fracturing of the right or the MAGA or conservatives or whatever you want to name them as. But let's move on to the UK.
Okay, let's go to the next story.
Waiting for you. But let's move on to the UK. Continues with censorship, and we will continue to highlight it and the insanity that's going on over there because it's coming for all of us wherever you are.
Well, this is going to go into I think a series of stories here that's really showing that the UK and the EU are trying to bring censorship into the United States, imposing their laws on United States corporations, and that therefore getting those corporations to implement similar tactics on U.S. citizens.
So Jim Ferguson says, quote, Trump administration slams Keir Starmer over his online safety bill. The Trump administration just sent the strongest message yet to Keir Starmer, and it's a direct hit. They're calling the UK's Online Safety Act exactly what it is, not safety control, and the red line couldn't be clearer. Britain has no authority to censor Americans. Ofcom cannot regulate U.S. speech, which is insane. They think they can. The act mirrors the EU's DSA, the same globalist blueprint for policing opinions, and American companies will not enforce penalties on U.S. soil.
Okay, and let's go down to the clip, if there was a clip here. And then there's two more stories that are connected to this, and it's getting really serious. The U.S. isn't implementing the type of censorship the EU would like.
I have one more thing on the Online Safety Act, and I emphasized this earlier, but I want to say it again. It's misguided and unfortunate to apply that law in Britain, but applying that law extraterritorially, which means applying it to speech that has nothing to do with Britain, does not occur in Britain, is on American platforms by American users on American political issues. Purporting to censor Americans in America is a deal breaker. It is a non-starter. It is a red line. And that's what Ofcom has tried to do with the Online Safety Act, and that's one reason the American government is concerned.
Okay, but will your government then take legal action against Ofcom if they try and overreach in the way you've described?
Well, there's already formal action proposed. There is a bill before the House called the Granite Act that would amend an existing statute to clarify that as a matter of American public policy, any penalties imposed by Ofcom are unenforceable against American companies. So our legislature will likely consider that, and we'll certainly consider other options if indeed the British...
And it was very important there. She said the Online Safety Act, this is what the EU is trying to impose on American social media companies and have them impose it on American citizens. Trump is fighting back with this Granite Act, and we're going to get into that in these next couple of little clips.
Oh, hold on. For some reason, a Nick Fuentes clip appeared. Hold on. Let me see if it's... Oh, yeah. The way you had set it up. From Marian Offwall, quote, the EU just fired a €120 million warning at X, and it backfired immediately. The European Commission has finally done what it has been threatening for nearly 2 years. It slapped Elon's X with a €120 million fine, the first ever punishment under the Digital Services Act.
And stop real quick. I'll let you finish reading it in a moment, but this is the first time they're using the Digital Services Act. Hillary Clinton herself was telling the EU to do this. So this is definitely coming from the Democratic wing of the United States through the EU. They want to get control of this. Trump needs to control the situation, and this is one of the big reasons we need to support him going into the midterms, so he has enough power within his own government to really pressure and back down the EU from the types of censorship they've been trying to do.
And I continue, quote, officially, Brussels says this is about transparency, interface design, and research access. Unofficially, everyone knows what this is really about. Europe wants control over online speech, and X refuses to play hall monitor for the EU bureaucracy. Brazil already tried this as well. And Washington just noticed J.D. Vance did what any hero would have done. The man didn't bother with diplomatic phrasing. He called it exactly what it is. Quote, a fine for not engaging in censorship. The EU should be supporting free speech, not attacking American companies over garbage, close quote. Elon Musk's response was 2 words, much appreciated.
Okay, and let's go into the clip here.
There is no clip, I think.
Oh, okay.
It's just explaining.
Okay, bring it to the next story because they kind of interlink here.
Hold on. From Basil the Great, breaking, quote, quote, Americans soon may have the right to sue the UK and EU over censorship. It's called the Granite Act. It would mean that US citizens who are targeted by the EU or UK, like Elon Musk with fines, can counter-sue in American courts. They would be awarded settlements from the billions European countries have invested in American banks.
Yeah, this would be absolutely fantastic because any judgment American citizens can get against the UK government in American courts will come directly out of their bank accounts within the US. This hopefully will put a stop to this because what the Democratic Party is trying to do is get the EU and the UK to sue these social media platforms through the Digital Services Act. And I was very surprised Trump came up with something this smart because he had to hit back. Otherwise, the midterms are coming and then he's out of office and you're going to see this wave of censorship if somebody appropriate doesn't get into office.
And there is some inkling as to who helped design all of this insanity within the UK and also for the EU and coming from the US. And no surprise, it's the Clintons. From Wall Street Apes, quote, Heritage Foundation exposes Hillary Clinton was directly behind getting the European Union to use their Digital Services Act to pressure Elon Musk and America back into censorship. Hillary Clinton flew overseas for a meeting to facilitate this against America. Quote, the European Union, gathered in Berlin, and it was the most anti-free speech gathering I've ever been a part of. Hillary Clinton was there, and she really fueled the anger.
And we can
quote.
Play the clip here. We do have a clip for this one.
Yes.
Free speech is in a free fall in Europe. There are two anti-free speech movements that have coalesced. One is in Europe, where it has laid waste to free speech. Germany, France, England. Free speech has been eviscerated. And also places like Canada. The U.S. anti-free speech movement began in higher education, then metastasized throughout the government. But this has all reached our shores now. The Berlin World Forum followed the remarks of Vice President Vance on free speech, and the EU was red hot. They gathered in Berlin, and it was the most anti-free speech gathering I've ever been part of. There's only two of us from the free speech community. And they are committed. And, you know, Hillary Clinton was there, and she really fueled the anger. I mean, she, when Twitter was purchased by Elon Musk, she called on the EU to use the infamous Digital Services Act, which is one of the most anti-free speech pieces of legislation in decades. And she called upon the EU to use the DSA to force the censorship of American citizens, force people like Musk to censor. It's an extraordinary act by someone who was once a presidential candidate in the United States. But they are committed to it. And after the World Forum, they further globalized this effort, and they are threatening companies like X with ruinous fines unless they resume censoring American citizens.
And this is a coordinated effort to go after free speech in the United States because they know Trump wants to protect it. They're using the EU, the UK, Canada, and Australia. All these countries have different forms of Digital Services Act. They're trying to levy fines against American companies. They're also attempting to bring digital IDs in and then levy fines that way for social media companies not complying on digitally identifying everybody on the platform.
And it continues from the Free Speech Union, quote, this is the most authoritarian move the government has made to date, and that's a pretty high bar. David Lammy wants to scrap the right to trial by jury. We covered this as well. A protection that dates back over 800 years to the Magna Carta. Jury trials are a cornerstone, and this is still in the UK, a cornerstone of English liberty and a crucial safeguard for free speech, which they're trying to destroy.
Yeah, and we talked about this the other day, but now it's really showing the implications. And why are they getting rid of jury trials? They're going directly after free speech. They know these judges are anti-free speech, and they're going to levy sentences down. If you've broken one of these free speech laws because you created a meme or something that offended somebody, and you go in front of a jury, there's a good chance that jury is going to say, no way, we're sending this guy to jail.
This is the most authoritarian thing the government has done to date, and it's a pretty high bar. The government is going to scrap the right to trial by jury. That's a right that dates back to the Magna Carta 800 years ago. The right to a trial by jury is an important bulwark of English liberty, but it's a particularly important safeguard of the right to free speech. We've done some research at the Free Speech Union and found that when it comes to speech offences, people are much more likely to be acquitted, to be found not guilty by juries than they are by magistrates or judges. One particular case in point is Jamie Michael, former Royal Marine, accused of stirring up racial hatred because of a 12-minute video he posted on Facebook encouraging people to protest against illegal immigration. It was a ludicrous charge, but nevertheless, he was prosecuted. There was a jury trial. He pleaded not guilty. It took that jury all of 17 minutes to unanimously acquit him. Had it just been a judge, I'm not sure he would have been acquitted. If you care about the right to trial by jury, if you care about free speech, go to our website, sign our petition. You can either click on the link below.
That's pretty good.
Hold on, the Free Speech Union in
and
the UK.
Free speech is absolutely under attack, and a lot of people just might not realize it. What a lot of these governments are implementing, it's very, very important. These midterms coming up and the 2028 election, we get candidates in there that are anti-war candidates and pro-free speech candidates. We're not even in a time of war right now. I know the EU is quickly headed that direction, along with Canada, Australia, and the UK. But if they're actually able to declare a war, you would expect massive amounts of freedoms like they're currently doing to be stripped, like the right to free speech. I'm very fearful if they do declare a war, they are already stripping these rights in a time of peace. What are they going to come for next? Mm-hmm. So, I would like to say, good to see Rafa here. Yeah. I was just thinking, maybe he doesn't like all these Candace Owens stories. I haven't seen him lately.
No, I'm sure he's busy. Rafa says, happy Friday. So happy Friday to you too, Rafa. And Steve Surfaro says, this is why AI-based VPNs are introduced at the CES trade show 2026 in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's good to hear.
What are AI-based VPNs?
Oh, I don't know, but I know.
Does it like triangulate where they're going to come search you and then they move you to a different country? Or?
Well, what I'm saying is these countries are trying to develop the technology to ban VPNs because in these test trials of online censorship, they realized VPNs was the big counter move the citizenry was using. So I'm glad to hear there's AI VPNs, something that can...
I don't love the AI component of it. But...
Yeah, but if you need something in order to protect yourself from these overreaching governments. So I'm glad there is at least a counter move here.
And in the UK, when they introduced that whole face recognition censorship thing to protect children online, we did see a surge in the UK for VPN searches. And then the UK government, I don't know if they expected it, but they didn't really do anything. They didn't know what to do. They were kind of caught with, people can go around this. And then like kids drawing beards on themselves and being able to, hack or trick the also AI face detection, age detection software that the government wanted to use. So, I mean, a lot of the things they want to implement are still in their infancy, but we've also continued to talk about AI and how AI, unfortunately, in my view, is speeding up and probably has sped up for people like in the private sector way more than people realize. So right now it might not work, but it'll work in half a year.
Well, it's going to be very interesting what happens in this free speech space, because you have the government that wants to bring in censorship. Then you have the citizens that actually want free speech. So what the government's going to do, the citizens are always going to counteract, whether it's a VPN or an AI VPN. So then the government's going to go to big tech saying, we need to block VPNs. So then big tech's going to make something to block VPNs, but big tech wants, and that's going to be a big money contract. But then big tech's going to want more big money contracts. So they'll probably develop software and discreetly slide it to the citizenry to kind of fight censorship so they can keep getting big contracts from the government. It's going to be an interesting circle on what kind of happens with free speech. I'm completely disappointed in these Western governments and how they're going after free speech after decades of them claiming that that is one of their fundamental principles. Obviously, it never was.
And Rafa says, I'm actually getting bored of the topic, Candace Owens, but I see it brings you viewers and that makes me happy. And we have been kind of running this test because I'm convinced she keeps claiming she never buys bots. She doesn't do anything. Accused Tim Pool of buying bots. And then it's very clear something or someone is pushing the name, the photo, and the topic in the algorithm. So
that being said, we're going to hopefully cover it a little less. We'll cover it the first half an hour of each show, probably.
Because, I mean, there will be a lot of things coming up now that she's, throwing the ball back to them and saying, I will appear if Erica appears. Like, there is stuff still happening, and it does eventually, I mean, it does affect what's happening with the states, which then affects what's happening in the world. Especially, for example, with free speech, where the U.S. is one of the only country that still has full free speech. So it is important politically, but not the cheeseman, not the gossip.
I also think there's going to be a big twist in that story at the end. I think she has more information. She wouldn't be potentially burning her whole brand down.
I mean, unless she's insane.
No, because behind the scenes, she's coordinating with some big players in the conservative movement. So she probably has something, and she wants to make it the biggest possible splash with it.
Or she wants people to think that.
Okay.
And Steve Zafara says exactly, I'm guessing about the VPNs, not the Candace.
Yeah.
But rounding out the UK from Basil the Great, quote, Keir Starmer cancels 4 mayoral elections he was set to lose. Essex, Hampshire, and the Solent, Sussex and Brighton, and Norfolk and Suffolk will all be delayed by 2 years because Starmer is worried Reform will win them. They will now take place in 2028 instead of next year.
And this is another example of not just the UK, but the EU absolutely rigging elections. We've seen something similar happen in France. We're seeing it happen in a ton of other countries. They're debanking their biggest political opponents. They're banning their biggest political opponents in France from even running. They're canceling elections if they get the wrong result, saying there was Russian interference, and then running the election again and again until they get the result that they want. The fact that Keir Starmer is willing to delay elections 2 years because he knows Reform UK is going to absolutely have a landslide is a little bit crazy. Now, I like Reform UK as far as compared to the other parties in the UK, but they're extremely milquetoast, and I don't expect really that much to get done when they get into power.
And because it's a parliamentary system, we've seen this happening also in Canada. We moved from Canada 13 years ago. I lived in Canada. I'm from Mexico. We moved about 1.5 years ago back to Mexico because we saw where the government and what the Canadian government was trying to do, also involving censorship. But Justin Trudeau did the exact same thing multiple times, where he changed elections. He moved the year, made them all dependent on where the polls told him he and the Liberals would be. So it's a playbook, especially I think, of parliamentarian systems within countries that want to continue to dominate specifically with one party. But in the case of Canada, I mean, both the Conservatives and the Liberals are now, in my opinion, getting closer to being the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on from politics and the UK, let's jump back into...
we're not moving on from politics. The whole show is going to be politics.
Well, yes, but we haven't covered entertainment in a long while.
Oh, yeah.
And yesterday I was on WDW Pro. Thank you so much to WDW Pro for having me every other week. I love being part of the panel. And the question has been coming up about what's going to happen with Warner Brothers and who was going to buy it. And funnily enough, almost right after the show, it seems, it came out that indeed, because it was between Paramount, Skydance, and Netflix, and both of those options would mean something very different for Warner Brothers. And essentially, what a lot of people are also saying is for the future of movies, of theaters, of what will be released, how will it be released, what does this mean for streaming, what does this mean for Warner Brothers and all their IPs. Let's remember they have Harry Potter, they have a bunch of different ones. So I was introducing the topic, but thank you for moving it to that. From that Park Place, now it has been announced that Netflix wins Warner Brothers bidding war and will enter exclusive negotiation period.
Now, a lot of people think this may...
Go follow that Park Place and WDW Pro.
A lot of people think this may be bad for movies coming into cinemas because Netflix likes to bring them right to streaming and build their subscriber base. That being said, I absolutely love the competition within the space. Paramount Plus has been buying up every single property. Larry Ellison is connected with a lot of digital ID, a lot of other things as well. So I didn't want to really see one huge monopolistic entity within the space. So I like the fact that Netflix did buy Warner Brothers, although Netflix is a little bit too left-leaning for me. I will say that. I do like the competition in the space. I did not want to see Warner Brothers just be another Paramount Plus entity. I do like what Paramount Plus has been doing, especially with the UFC and a lot of their other properties.
Well, that might mean that Batman is trans. Maybe now he's a rat or something. But let's see really quickly just for the news. In a development that could reshape the entire entertainment landscape, Netflix has reportedly won the bidding war for Warner Brothers Discovery, triggering immediate backlash from Paramount and raising the specter of enormous regulatory scrutiny in the United States and abroad. A Deadline report confirmed that Netflix submitted the highest bid, around $28 per share, mostly in cash, and is now entering exclusive deal talks with Warner Brothers Discovery. To be clear, the sale is not done. Warner Brothers will now enter an exclusive negotiation with Netflix, effectively removing Paramount, Skydance, and Comcast from the discussions. And now there's also like accusations that were being thrown before, and we talked about them yesterday, but Paramount says the sale process was rigged and tilting toward Netflix. For weeks, Paramount had been aggressively competing for control of Warner Brothers Discovery, but as the auction heated up, so did tensions between the companies. Yesterday, Paramount accused Warner Brothers of favoring Netflix in a blistering letter, claiming the sale process was unfair and tilted. The company argued that Warner Brothers leadership had conflicts of interest, including potential personal benefits certain executives might receive depending on which buyer ultimately prevailed.
Yeah, we're seeing these two major players emerge. Netflix absolutely needed this deal if they wanted to stay relevant. Now they got it. Their big competitor is Paramount Plus. But really, I want to see what YouTube does. YouTube is huge in the space right now. What are they going to do in the future? Because I think this is going to be a tale of three horses here. And it's also going to be interesting what happens with Disney. Disney's definitely going to, I think, sell at some point.
Well, and specifically with YouTube, there has been, and we haven't really covered it, just a little bit, all of what's happening with creators and a lot of channels getting erased all of a sudden and not really responding because it now seems to be coming out, at least some people have been investigating it, like Basecamp, saying that the algorithm and the way that YouTube is now fully controlling and, blocking channels and deleting them is through their Gemini AI, which is not as well trained as the process they were using before. That is why we're seeing a lot of channels allegedly being deleted.
Well, I don't think YouTube will necessarily step in and buy a major film company like a Warner Brothers or something like that. What I'm thinking is the Netflix side of this equation, which just about Warner Brothers, may want to get into a YouTube space, either buy a platform or build a platform to really compete in that space, because YouTube doesn't have any peer competitors right now. Yes, there are things like Rumble in the space or Twitch, but they pale in comparison to YouTube. But really, I think Paramount Plus is going to be in that space. They have a lot of companies within that umbrella, especially within the tech sector, where they could make a peer competitor to YouTube. Nobody really has the user interface or the creator interface that YouTube has. So I really do hope to see either Paramount or Netflix, or potentially even both, enter the YouTube space and make a competitor, or buy up a Twitch and a Rumble and really invest a lot of money in those platforms to make them peer-to-peer competitors, because it will be good for human creators.
But then that could instead, damage the platform, make it more censorious, or, I wouldn't like Rumble to get, because it's free speech. So I wouldn't want Rumble to get acquired by anybody else, because then the rules come and the restrictions.
But you already have Twitch in the space. You already have a lot of
Twitch has Amazon.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's a big player that can invest a lot of money and really make a peer. But they're going to at some point, because what's happening right now is they're battling for this big movie space. What they're going to realize is there's no competitor to YouTube. It's a wide open market there if they can just invest a big amount of upfront capital.
And YouTube has been concentrating too much on the AI slop and on the novelty videos, and anything that's new is what gets pushed out. So they do need to change, I think, if they want to continue having human viewers.
Also, you need to bring real competition to that space that is an equal size to YouTube, or at least attempting to be an equal size. Otherwise, if YouTube decides to go the AI route, a lot of the human creators are going to have a hard transition to try to build up one of these other platforms and make them a big platform. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go into the next.
Well, we'll skip the next two just so we can get into politics.
Okay.
The next story was going to be Halle Berry got mad about Gavin Newsom not wanting to have pass a specific bill about, what was it, menopause.
I was going to talk 10 minutes with that, but
Yes, but we're running out of time.
Okay.
And I don't think we'll get through all the stories. But since we're in the U.S., let's just continue with the U.S. From Table Salt. Quote, Trump signals that he could exit from the USMCA entirely. This is extinction level to Canada. He's going to do it. I have a strong feeling about it. We're talking about 400,000 jobs and an instant severe recession.
And this isn't as big as news as I thought when I grabbed the article, because I looked into it. I talked to one of our friends and they said this US MCA, the North America Free Trade Agreement, actually starts renegotiated in 2026, which I knew. I thought it was up to re-sign in 2028, but the truth is it goes all the way to 2036. So I think Canada is just going to wait Trump out, and hopefully somebody's better is in office after them, at least from their perspective. And if they don't get somebody better then, I think they're going to try to wait that individual out, because they have enough to kind of wait the United States out for 2 presidents.
Do you want to watch the thing or no?
Yeah, we can watch it, even though.
Just an ongoing thing. It expires in about a year, and we'll either let it expire or we'll maybe work out another deal with Mexico and Canada. But look, Mexico and Canada have taken advantage of the United States, like just about.
And it doesn't expire in a year. It's up for renegotiation in a year. And that I had thought the same thing Trump had thought. It was he could drop Canada if he wanted it in a year. That's not the case.
Every other country.
Trump's framing is off. CUSMA does not expire in a year, but the trade agreement between Canada, the U.S., and Mexico will be reviewed and likely revised starting next June. In Washington, behind closed doors, high-stakes consultation hearings are now underway. Industry, business leaders, and experts telling the Trump administration what they think about the deal, which is also known here as USMCA.
It's
funny that they called it CUSM.
Well, and I will say this, Canada's in a bad position because they've made it very clear they want to unite with the European Union. They're assisting them financially with their the EU military, not NATO. They're actually building a separate military now. Canada is going to be a part of that. They're trying to link up with the EU when it comes to trade. They're trying to transition away from the United States. They don't like the direction Trump is going. That being said, Mark Carney is very ideological, liberally captured individual, but so is the president of Mexico. The difference is the president of Mexico is actually willing to cooperate with Trump and is doing everything in her power to keep that relationship in good terms. I like the future of Mexico and the United States. I think Canada may be left out in the cold come 2036, but there are a couple presidents between now and then.
Mm-hmm. And Rafa says, I hope they bring back Batman Beyond. That might be trans Batman Beyond. But well, now that it's with Netflix. But also Harry Potter will be interesting. And a bunch of other stuff they have, up in the air will be.
Well, and
what will happen to them.
Behind the scenes, a lot of these big, we're talking again about the media industry, Netflix.
The Warner Brothers Netflix.
Stuff like that. But behind the scenes, the technology Paramount Plus is trying to bring in of create your own series with IP properties that we already have. I think you're going to be seeing that within the next 3 or 4 years. So that could completely change the space. And maybe they're waiting for that technology to come out, and that's how they'll incorporate it into some kind of YouTube competitor. So
we'll see. We might also see more Netflix stuff in theaters, or less Warner Brothers stuff in theaters. Who knows?
I did want to watch that leftist movie, that political leftist movie. What was it called? With Leonardo.
One Battle After Another.
One Battle After Another. It's out on video now, so fine. I didn't want to support it when in theaters. I am willing to watch it now that it's on streaming.
But from the Patriot Oasis, quote, Supreme Court upholds the Texas redistricting map, allowing Texas to use the map for the 2026 midterms. This is huge, adding 5 more Republican seats. The new map also fires Representative Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah, this isn't huge, and I don't like to see this. I don't like to see this in Texas. I don't like to see it in California. I don't like how they're gerrymandering all these maps, and as soon as California does it, then Texas has to do it to counterbalance it. I wish they would just leave it alone. They're trying to rig these elections in any way, shape, or form that they can. We did talk about the recent election that happened either yesterday or the day before. The Republican won, but it was a lot closer than people may have thought it was going to be. So it's going to be very interesting what happens in the midterms. After the last election, everybody thought it would be a sweep in the midterms for the Republicans. It's actually looking the opposite right now.
Do you want to watch the clip?
Yeah.
Okay.
Win for Texas. The Supreme Court allows the Lone Star State to use the Trump-backed congressional map in its midterm elections. Governor Greg Abbott writing this: Texas is officially and legally more red. This is a victory for Texas voters, for common sense, and for the U.S. Constitution. They could get up to 5 seats in theory. Let's bring in Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett. Greg, did the Supreme Court make the right decision?
Oh, I think they did, Brian, because there was little credible evidence that Texas had actually redrawn their congressional map based on race, which obviously would be a civil rights violation. And the ruling is consistent with what the high court said in 2019. We will not intervene in cases of political partisan gerrymandering, only in cases where, states have conjured up district boundaries for largely racial reasons that are discriminatory. And in fact, there was evidence that the previous map was racially motivated and that the new map corrected that constitutional defect. So as you point out, Brian, this ruling has the potential to
that's
flip.
Pretty good. Yeah, I don't like to see the gerrymandering, whether it's the Republicans or the Democrats. They're both doing it at this point, and they're both just as guilty. Yeah.
And Rafa says, will you talk about the FIFA World Cup? I didn't have time nor intention to watch the stream, but would like to be informed about what happened when they got together, Carney, Trump, and
Yeah, it was
Sheinbaum.
actually...
I didn't think you grabbed it.
No, I didn't grab it, but it was Trump, Sheinbaum, and Mark Carney on stage making the draws for the countries, because the FIFA World Cup's going to be held in all 3 countries, I believe, isn't it?
Yes, and I mean, I am in Mexico, I am from Mexico, but I do hope Mexico loses. Like, we're not ready for that. We don't have the money. We're having like giant political issues right now in the country. We don't need a World Cup to come disrupt even further what's happening. But it might be a good test and a good proof to the world as to how Claudia Sheinbaum, our president, and Morena have continued to fail all their people.
But aren't the finals already here? The finals are going to be held in Mexico, aren't they?
Yeah, no, technically, I mean, Mexico still holds part of the games that are going to be happening here. What I'm saying is there's a lot of people asking either the US or FIFA to remove Mexico from the 3 countries that are hosting it because we just can't.
I don't know about that. They're actually...
It's not going to happen. I'm just saying.
Yeah, they're investing $100 billion in the train system here in Mexico City
instead of in the farmers and the agricultural workers and everybody that needs actual help, other than their supporters who get free money from the government.
But that's all we have for the FIFA World Cup. We'll grab it for Monday, though, and update it then.
Especially after if it comes out that they spoke to each other or if there was something else interesting that happened. Because I just saw Claudia Sheinbaum trying to get out of a car and she couldn't, but that's not big news. I'll cover that in my Spanish show. I will talk more about it in the Spanish show.
What, the FIFA World Cup?
The reunion.
Oh, okay.
Because, I mean, I dislike 2 of them and used to like one of them. Now I'm doubting him, but I still like Trump. Joe Montana says, hey guys, love your show, but can you stop talking about Candace? It's getting really boring. And can you remove that ugly blue frame on the screen? It looks like shit. Thanks.
Oh, we are?
We are.
How did you know? You were actually working on that.
I'm working on a new... We're essentially upgrading all of our graphics, and I'm working on them, but it's just him and I, so it takes a while to figure out what we want, the positioning, then how to get it into the thing so it shows up. So probably by next week, we're going to work on it over the weekend. So next week, you'll see changes as to how it looks and how we show things on screen, etc.
Okay.
Because we're going to be working on it. But thank you for saying that you like it. Joe Montana says, who gives an F about Candace? Let's hear some news. LOL. The thing is, and I think Steve Surfaro had said it as well, or Rafa said it as well, that yes, Candace is boring and a lot of people don't actually care and think she is just damaging everything. The problem is we are trying to get viewers and subscribers, and we did see that if we talk about it, plus it is in the context of American politics, it's still important because I mean it is a vie for power in the end for 2026 and then for 2028. So it is important to talk about it, but maybe not as long as we do.
We're going to talk about it for half an hour at the beginning of every show. So if you do want to skip that segment from starting next week, because we're going to keep covering it, just skip the first half an hour. Yeah, but we're going to have a hard out after half an hour starting next week.
Of Candace. Maybe, I mean, because for the test we're kind of running, we have to continue putting it on the cover.
It's getting good numbers and subscribers, so I'm going to continue to do it for now.
Yeah, but we do like to more talk about news.
Okay, let's get to the news.
Yeah, so we finish. Hold on. Still in the U.S. from Barron Trump News. Funnily enough, a lot of people in Mexico thought that this account was actually Barron Trump, and they were saying, "Oh, Barron Trump is talking about Mexico's government. How dare he?" No, it's not. It's a parody account. Quote, Scott Bessent humiliated the New York Times on live TV straight to their faces. He basically said, you clowns screamed about Trump's health while Biden went 10 months without a single cabinet meeting. How do you invoke the 25th Amendment when the cabinet never even saw the guy?
Yeah, and I just want to point out who this is. This is Scott Bessent. Since he's been in the Trump administration, I like him when he's going in front of the camera. He's fairly good, but the issue is his past. He used to work for George Soros, and he's running a lot of the finances for the Trump administration. So there's a lot of question marks around him. I wanted to point out who he was and who he used to work for, which is George Soros, just so you can put a face to the name for if there's any future stories with him, which there will be.
You had what was one of the greatest scandals of all time, that the coverage of the Biden administration, Joe Biden's diminished capacity, and the cover-up.
And that's why it's probably fair to raise these questions.
Where was the New York Times? We just had a 3-hour cabinet meeting yesterday, Andrew. For 10 months, the Biden administration did not have a cabinet meeting. How are you going to invoke the 25th Amendment if the cabinet secretaries never see the president, which they didn't? I hear from people in the Treasury building that I see President Trump more in a day than my predecessor saw Joe Biden in half a year. So you had...
And Trump has also been traveling a lot.
Well, that being said, there's a lot of attacks on the administration right now, and they're sitting a lot of groundwork. I'm expecting once we reach the new year, they're going to start sitting up for the midterms. They're going to want to bring this thing as close to civil war without having a civil war as possible to really affect the midterms. Because if Trump loses those midterms, they're going to be able to, number one, freeze him out for the second half of his administration. Number two, he's not going to be able to get any of his executive orders codified into real law through the House and the Senate. And then number three, and probably most importantly to them, is they're going to be able to impeach them if they can take over enough of the House and the Senate. And so far, the poll numbers are not looking good for Republicans. So I really hope all the infighting with the conservatives, number one, can be put to bed. But number two, they can start pointing out a lot of the successes the Trump administration is having. Gas prices are way down. Inflation is been slowed to an absolute crawl. He's doing a lot of good things. He's fighting off a lot of the attacks that are happening from three-letter agencies like the City of London from overseas. He's implementing things like stablecoin. The US dollar has stayed fairly strong. So to give capitalism a chance going forward or extend the life out, Trump and this idea that he's doing with the tariffs need to really have a solid 4 years to see if it can succeed or not. Mm-hmm. So he needs to win the midterms in order to see if this can succeed. Also, the Supreme Court's coming back early next year with the decision whether these tariffs were legal or illegal. If they end up saying these things are illegal, I think I really fear what's going to happen in the second half of the Trump administration, because that really undermines everything he's trying to do.
Mm-hmm. And that will continue to have the effect that we're seeing now, where a lot of regular citizens in the States and a lot of people are just saying, well, we're not seeing all the things that we were promised. The grocery prices aren't down. The food isn't better. Nothing has gotten better. But because it was going to take quite a bit of time if the tariff strategy did work, we've also said it might have not worked and it might not work, but it's not enough time right now to be able to highlight those gains. So find other things to highlight.
Everything that needed to happen is actually happening so far. A lot of the investment money's coming in. The manufacturing facilities are starting to get built. They take a year to 2 years to build a lot of these facilities, even if they're on an expedient timeline. So after those facilities are built, you'll start to really see the change. But he's been able to at least stop the bleeding and do a lot of good things in those first 100 days. I do understand that it does look like he's being more of a corporatist and going away from his base. That being said, a lot of his international policies affect America, the American economy. So he has to focus on that. Otherwise, he'll get his head below water. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And Hi Boy says, Candace sounds like a jealous wannabe girlfriend of Charlie's with some of the stuff she's been saying. Back to Candace. I mean, I do agree, and I've said it. I think I even said it before, like Tim Pool and stuff. she seems like she's in love with the man.
And
she was in love with the man.
My posturing has always been, I really hope Erica Kirk is her inside source, and Erica Kirk wants to clean up TPUSA.
It's a long shot.
Yeah, it's a long shot, but I hope that is the case.
And Highboy also says George Soros is a very sketchy dude. No lies there.
Yeah, but especially the Trump administration is really focusing in on George Soros and a lot of his tentacles he's had around the world, whether that's in Australia or Hungary. And he's really lending a lot of support to these countries to kind of get these George Soros NGOs out of these countries. So there's a lot of new laws being passed as well, specifically focusing in on a lot of the things George Soros has been doing over the last couple of decades.
And also focusing on immigration. Finally, again, he has come out and said some more stuff. From Mario Naufel, quote, Trump hits pause on immigration from 19 high-risk countries, expansion to 30 more coming soon. Green card, citizenship oaths, and refugee approvals are now frozen for nationals from 19 countries flagged as high risk. The list includes full blocks on Afghanistan, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Partial freezes hit Cuba, Venezuela, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, and others. Most are African and Asian nations with terror ties or poor information sharing. This comes days after the Afghan evacuee shot 2 National Guard troops in D.C., one fatally. He was vetted under Biden.
Yeah, and we're going to go to RUMBLE in a minute. And when we do, there's a lot of stories kind of related to this. A lot of these countries are flooding their borders with the type of immigrants that just don't integrate well into a Western society. They have fundamentally different beliefs. And they're filling up prisons within these countries. Sentencing within these countries are becoming really lax. So a lot of these violent offenders are being let loose on the street. I mean, I see no problem with this. Trump is also expanding immigration when it comes to Canadian blue collar workers. They want to get a lot more blue collar workers into the United States that are already trained up, that can really integrate well. I think that is a good policy. If it's been identified that they do need immigrants, at least they're trying to find immigrants that can. They don't even really need to integrate into the society because Canada is so close, especially if you bring blue-collar working-class conservatives in.
Mm-hmm. And it is interesting. They're also going to be rechecking a lot of the green cards that were issued or approved under Biden. So
yeah.
A very more clear move of what he had promised. And again, it's one point that he should be highlighting. It should be highlighted instead of... Because I don't like that he has been saying, oh, the economy is great, the economy is great. No, it's not. It can get great, but... A lot of people are feeling like he's lying to them by saying kind of the same thing Biden was saying, like, oh, why are you complaining? Everything's great. No, it's not, but it can continue to actually get better. From Eric Doherty, quote, in a stunning blow to the experts, the CEO of Ford just said he can launch new, less expensive vehicles in the USA because of President Trump rescinding Biden regulations, which means prices will be coming down.
Okay, and you can play this.
It's a really important improvement for U.S. customers. What you should know is that this is a victory for affordability and common sense. As the president said, we will be able to offer more affordability on our popular models, and we'll be able to launch new vehicles built in America that are more affordable because of this rule change. Frankly, CAFE was totally out of touch with the market reality. We were forced to sell EVs and other vehicles. We're not going back to gas guzzlers. We have a lot of EVs and a lot of hybrids at Ford, but now customers get a chance to choose what they want, not buy what we force on them. And
I'll talk a little bit about Toyota because I believe he's going to take the tariffs down on Toyota, which comes out of Japan. Japan really is having a tough time with their economy. So I think Trump's going to help float their economy by taking the tariffs down. This is going to flood a lot of cheaper vehicles into the United States, but well-made vehicles. Toyota is actually one of the better car companies. That being said, a lot of these manufacturing facilities, they're in the process of being built, meaning they've already broke ground on them, but it's still going to take a year or two. So I like the fact that he is at least going to bring, if he's going to bring in cheap cars, he's going to do it from a good ally that makes good vehicles. This is going to give the American public access to cheap vehicles from Ford, from Toyota, while they make more manufacturing facilities in the United States.
Yeah, so from Amuse, quote, Trump has lifted the ban on inexpensive vehicles like the $14,000 Toyota Hilux, the 2,000 micro EVs, or the 4,000 Suzuki Alto. Get ready. It's just a video of a truck.
Yeah, and play the video. I really like the look of this truck, actually.
This
No music. You can play it. So I believe this truck cost around $10,000 or $14,000. That's good. I like the look of that truck, to be honest with you. We recently had bought a car. I would have loved to get something like that, especially at that kind of price point. I do like Toyota as a company. I have said in the past, their 2025 models have kind of disappointed me because they've had to really remanufacture their engines, and they're not quite as powerful as before because they had to meet a lot of the green policies of a lot of these countries if they wanted to import their vehicles. That being said, I hope he does raise the tariff back on Toyota once manufacturing is in full flux in the United States.
I don't know, because I mean, if you didn't see, a lot of the Tesla owners had moved to Toyota and bought Priuses instead because they were angry with Elon Musk for being friends with Trump. Now also have to get rid of their Toyotas, apparently, because from the New York Post, quote, Toyota CEO goes full MAGA at NASCAR event as car maker unveils the $912 million investment in U.S. manufacturing. And there he is, very happily smiling with his MAGA hat.
Yeah, and Toyota's been a great company over the last few years. They had different engine designs. They didn't invest everything into electrical, and there was a lot of pressure put on Toyota to go full electric. They said no, most countries don't have the grid to do that, and they stood up and literally said they weren't going to do it. A lot of countries implemented tariffs on their cars for that reason. But now that we're realizing maybe electric wasn't the right way to go, they have a very diverse platform. So they're really sit well to succeed, especially because they're on good relations with the American market.
And Steve Stefaro says, if the Dems get power back too quickly, inflation will cause the US dollar to crater and a global digital currency will be attempted but failed, creating a global simultaneous financial collapse in 10 years.
Yeah, let's make this very clear. Even if you don't like all of Trump's policies, and I try to push him in the right direction, so I do call out bad policies when he makes them, and he does listen to his base, so it can be effective. That being said, going into these midterms and in 2028, if the Democrats get power, number one, they're going to exactly what he said is going to happen in the midterms. But in 2028, if they can manage to get the presidency, we're going to go to war. A lot of bad things are going to happen. We need to get a good anti-war candidate in there. The EU would have already gone to war if there was a Democrat in office right now. We need to prevent this with everything we had. We showed a lot of censorship. If the Democrats get back into office, you can kiss free speech goodbye. The one big damn kind of saving free speech right now is America. If the Democrats get in there, they're going to allow the EU to bully these tech companies around with policy that shouldn't really apply to them.
And Steve Safar also says some EU countries like Austria are in such economic straits and are having to turn the power off at traffic intersections at night in smaller cities. And we've also spoken about the decline of France, the decline of the UK, the decline of where else? Germany, because of a lot of the policies that they did, and also their bans and their blockades on Russia and their ability to get, for example, Russian energy into the country and having to rely on others, but eventually having to circumvent back to Russia. We've talked about how France and the UK have almost had to go to the World Bank to ask, but the World Bank can't finance them either because they don't have enough for one, let alone two of them, France and the UK.
For a bailout.
For a bailout, yes, sorry.
That being said, behind the scenes, I don't talk about it a lot, but there's a battle currently going on between the EU and the United States, and they're jockeying for position. The EU is trying to release their digital currency. They've laid all the groundwork. They have all the legislation. They want this to be a solid CBDC that will be able to be programmable and have a lot of restrictions on it. Trump is trying to bring in a stable coin, not to replace the US dollar, but to coincide with it for to give places like the EU an alternative. So if EU citizens choose the stable coin because it's a more free form of digital currency than the CBDC the European Union is trying to impose on their citizens, it will give the United States really economic control over the EU. This battle is going on behind the scenes. There is also the bullion markets. A lot of digital currencies are currently trying to back themselves with bullion, especially within the Chinese market. This even though I don't necessarily trust the Chinese government, if they're going to back each one of their pieces of digital currency with gold, the international market will respond very well to that. So there's a lot going on with the currency markets, the digital currency markets, especially between the EU and America. Less so between China and America, actually. Both sides want a divorce, and they want to have their own spheres of influence. At least that's how I see it. Okay.
Before we go to RU and BLE, because the next stories we have are from Canada, and Canada is insane, and there's a lot of things we can't talk about.
They're not just from Canada. These are really harsh stories I picked for today. We actually have quite a few stories on Rumble today.
Yeah.
YouTube will definitely censor any one of these stories. So head over to Rumble.
But we do have one last comment.
Oh, okay.
And it might take a while to respond. From Joe Montana, the guy that doesn't like our background, but that's okay. Wait, I wanted to do it with the background. But it is changing, believe me. Joe Montana says, Nat and the Guy, your show is so good, very well researched. How long does it take you guys to prepare before a show? And do you love what you do? And then there's another question after that.
I definitely, absolutely love what I do.
Yes. Because we used to do it anyways, but like in our own lives, talking to each other about all these things.
Well, and I used to work 12-hour days, sometimes 24-hour days every Friday, but I would do these security jobs, so I could always have an earbud in my ear, and I would obsessively listen to politics. So it became a real passion when I was doing that job. And the fact that I was able to kind of turn it into a little bit of a career, I absolutely love it. That being said, it gets easier the more I do the show, because a lot of repetitive subjects come up, or a lot of interlocked subjects come up, where if you know one thing, it relates to something else geopolitically. Economics and geopolitics are really unified at the hip now. I would say 10 or 15 years ago, it was never kind of like that.
And yeah, same. I had a lot of menial jobs, worked in the film industry in Vancouver, and had a lot of time to be able to just sit and, listen to just straight on politics, or people discussing like 3-4 hours long on specific subjects as well. And because I was very woke back in the day, like in 2015, when I kind of first moved to Canada from 2011 to 2015, and then I realized that the insanity that was going on in Canada, especially in Vancouver, it made me really dive deep into this new media ecosphere that was kind of just forming. Like Tim Pool was just kind of starting out, same with Charlie Kirk, Steven Crowder. They were all still in their infancy, I would say. Not that many people were watching them, but it helped me be like, oh, that could be something I want to do. Because initially I wanted to do something.
Hold on. I think we should say that I didn't necessarily make it a career because I had a passion for it. I did. What was happening in Canada with the Canadian government, the level of authoritarianism they were bringing in, especially during the trucker protest.
This goes into his last question, which is, why did you start the channel? So.
Yeah, it absolutely broke me when the Canadian government was stepping over every single red line. It was unbelievable. And to this day, they're still doing a lot of these things. They're doing it to even more of an extreme. But the trucker protest came up, and they were trying to block it out in the media. So we went down to the border. We started filming that on a daily basis on our Nat and The Guy channel in Spanish.
It used to be our English channel.
Our original videos are actually in English on that channel, and that's where we kind of started. And we were too scared to even be on camera. So we went down there, and then we put a voiceover on it, and eventually we got enough guts to kind of be on camera, and it got easier. But it made me feel like I was actually doing something and I can make a change, or at least I just felt like I was doing absolutely nothing, and the country was slipping away from not just me, but you as well. It came to the point where I no longer believed in the Canadian people ability to vote in their own interest. So we left, and we now live in Mexico.
Yeah.
And that being said,
I am from Mexico. I'm Mexican.
That being said, luckily, after we did go down to the border and we started filming the border protest, the Trucker Freedom Convoy, a few years later, we decided to actually start doing the show. And man, it was one of the greatest decisions of my life.
Yes, and I mean, we did talk about it, at least had the idea for quite a while, because after the trucker convoy, I, again, was already pretty invested in politics, but then I reached out, for example, in Vancouver to Billboard Chris and started working with him and started helped him out with a website. And I also met some people from Rebel News, etc. But I was also having to have another job because we were kind of making the decision to leave. But that took 4.5 years of saving money and working as much as we could, especially Guy, insane hours where we had time to listen to a lot of politics, but not to actually do much. So our first initial videos after that were mine, and I was just me trying to do something in breaks and trying to figure out how to edit and figure out how to do things because, again, film industry, but not specifically doing this and YouTube and editing. And from there, we started saying, well, if we are going to move to Mexico, we have to also figure out if we do want to do this full on. So we did start to learn, start to build out the studio, what we needed.
The interesting thing was, we went to the border first, and then we realized, wow, this country's kind of slipping away from us. I don't know if they're going to vote in their own interest. When we decided to come to Mexico, like you said, it was 4.5 years of savings. But one of the jobs I got in that 4.5 years was a job at, I guess you would consider it in the States, what would it be? Similar to CVS or a Walgreens that they had a photo department. And if I worked in the photo department, I worked in the photo lab developing photos. But it gave me a 50% discount, sometimes even a 70% discount on camera equipment. So I was able to buy just enough equipment so we can start a small studio when we did move. And that's when we made the transition.
Yeah, but it was a very conscious decision, and we set it up. And then talking to camera, learning how to do everything. I'm still messing up on live streams sometimes and how to connect it. And so we're still learning, but I do think also the perspective of, you lived in the States for a while. I lived in Canada for 13 years. You're also from Canada, but I'm also from Mexico and know quite a bit of Mexican politics. Gives us that whole North American angle and being able to talk about it, but also interest in UK, EU politics and just geopolitics in general, where I don't know if most people have that, 3-layered perspective, and then the rest of Latin America too, which they all influence each other, even if people don't think they do. So I think that's the angle I try to attack it from, where yes, for example, Tim Pool, Stephen Crowder, they talk a lot about US politics, which is very important, but sometimes they get things wrong or make mistakes when they talk about Mexico, for example, or Canada, but we've gotten to live that firsthand as well.
Well, not even just that. If Trump is successful, hopefully in the midterms, and hopefully he has a good heir or a good successor that continues his policies and doesn't start any major wars, things like that, you really see him implementing policies of the North American and the America's sphere of influence. They feel like North and South America is really their sphere of influence right now, especially going into a multipolar world. But you're having countries like Canada and even Mexico to a certain extent working against them. So I think if Trump can be successful and his heir can be successful, you're going to really see this North American sphere of influence really start to be engaged then. And I hope it works.
And being able to combat the other ones that are also still within that more globalism perspective, especially now with digital currency, digital ID, and having that merge. There could be a stronghold if Canada won't, but the US and Mexico do something to stop it. I don't think Mexico will, but if the US influences Mexico to do so, then they will.
The US, Canada might get on board. They're going to have to be economically broken first. And if Trump can do that, the people might wake up to the point where they'll elect a conservative government, somebody Trump can actually work with. Okay, let's head over.
Joe Montana, while we're still on YouTube, Joe Montana says, you guys look like you've been doing it for years, better than others with much bigger channels that talk about nonsense. Thank you.
Because I'm always nervous and I always think we suck.
Same.
I'm always like, oh God, did I say that? And then I still get nervous every time before we go on. And I get also a lot of practice from doing it in Spanish as well, because I do a live show in Spanish by myself after this. But because it is the two of us, that's, I think we've been trying to grow the channel, but it's also why it stays small, because we do want to put out, more edited content, more shorts, more go on other platforms, but it's a slow trickle because it's just, he does all the pre-production and I do all the post-production, but that's it.
And Joe Montana says, you guys are both very talented. Thank you. Believe it, please. Because he's always like, no, I'm so bad. He's not. But it takes a while to get used to camera.
I got angry the other day at something. I was like, man, I don't know if we can even do this. Like, I don't know if it's working out, but it's gotten better since then. So.
And luckily, the Spanish channel also grew quite a bit. So
it's very hard because we're in Mexico City and we're trying to put out a lot of English content. It doesn't really push us out of Mexico, so it's very hard. That's why when she goes on WDW Pro and stuff, it's a big help because it brings it to an American and Canadian audience.
Yes. And Steve Zafaro says, my wife and I met 3 Canadian truckers right in Texas where they have dual residency. Well, they should stay in Texas. They'll do much better in Texas.
Well, you're seeing right now you're seeing a huge migration of Canadian conservatives because Trump's opening it up with not an H-1B visa, but this new kind of visa where he's bringing a lot of blue collar workers that are actually Canadian conservatives. And a lot of them are moving to Texas. A lot of them are moving there because there's a content creator named Clyde to do something. He's moving to Texas, but he's bringing bringing a lot of awareness to maybe it's time for people to leave Canada.
And if you like or are interested in Canadian politics, do follow Clyde Do Something because he's great. I'd love to talk to him one time now that we're all, out of Canada. But thank you so much to Steve Zafaro, Joe Montana, Rafa, and Hi Boy, and our bot, Lauren, for all your comments. We do respond to all the comments.
Even the bots.
Even the bots. Well, no, we didn't really respond to the bot. And thank you so much, Joe Montana, for saying that. It really does mean a lot. And it does mean a lot when people subscribe and continue to comment. Even if you disagree with us, I think that's important too.
And thank you to Rafa. He was one of our first people that started following the channel. He always leaves comments. He's been a really big support because we didn't have anybody that really spoke up and left comments for a long time.
Yes.
So when you're making a show like this, sometimes it feels like you're talking into a void. But when you actually have somebody that leaves comments on a regular basis, it really does help us to keep going.
Yes. So thank you so much. We're going to run over to RUMBLE, try to do the stories quickly because then I'll probably move my Spanish show, Rafa or anybody else that watches my Spanish show, till 10. There's not that many things to talk about other than making fun of Claudia Sheinbaum. So we'll do that around 10 so we can finish off the Canadian stories on Rumble.
We're going to RUMBLE now. We'll see you over there.
Same channel name. And thank you so much, everybody.
Okay, let me...
I almost took the mic away because I thought we were done. We're not done yet, people on Rumble. We're still here. Please do subscribe.